to get. Great. Okay. I'm going to pass it off to Jen Hunter to get us started this morning.
Great. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good morning, Region
Jen.
15 and friends. And Jen Cooke, thank you so much for being here. It's very exciting. We're going to have a great morning. I'm going to be kicking it off with a little discussion about our new values and vision and strategic plan that the RMT has been working on. And some of you may know more about this than others. The TCs, presidents, and directors had a little discussion with me and Harriet about it at Vocal Fest, and the RMT's been doing a lot of work since then. So I'm just going to do a little presentation about it. You may want to turn your volume up on your computers because there are a couple of little video snippets that the volume is up all the way, but it's still not quite as high as I would like. So you may want to do that. Just give me a second to share my screen and I'll be all ready. Everyone looks so excited. Wow. Yeah, now, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. This is how I live. I need it. I need the smiles. Thank you, everybody. I need the
She's
smiles.
Tinkerbell. She dies without the applause.
Yes, I need the smiles and the coffee this morning, everyone. Thank you, Alicia, for putting me on at 9 o'clock. Okay. So I'm going to share. It might take me a second to get myself organized. Let's see. All right. That's not what I want you to see, but you are seeing something, I hope. Just give me 1 second. Move this out of the way. There we go. All right, can you see something?
Yes.
Yay! That is awesome. All right, and is there a video of me and a little doodad here? Yay, it's working. Okay, awesome. Thank you, everybody. Okay. So as I said, thank you everyone for being here. The last time we talked about our visual and strategic plan, although I mentioned it briefly at our regional dinner at Contest, was at a lunch with the TCs and directors. And I kept our homework or paperwork from that lunch where I asked all of the TC's presidents and directors to answer 2 questions for me. And the first question was, well, really an incomplete sentence. Region 15 is, and the other one was Region 15 can. So I was hoping to get what are the ideas that, or the feelings we have about the region right now, and what are some ways we can dream about the future for the region. Hello, let's go. Oh, too far. Got it. All right, so some people I voluntarily gave me their answers at the end of that session, and it's amazing how there were so many similarities. And here were some of the things that anonymously and reworded that your leaders said about Region 15 is. Region 15 is supportive, encouraging, fun, a lot of things about education and how great we are with education and events. Continually seeking excellence, talented and competitive, a community of great singers, and also mentioning how large and diverse we are with so many people from different states and different areas and different regions. So what a great foundation we have in Region 15. And then I asked, to finish, Region 15 can. What do we think we can do in the future? And we were hoping that this information would help us with our strategic plan. Many people wrote things about being leaders or trendsetters, and to get more involved with SAI in the future, so that when people think of Sweet Adelines, we're one of the regions they think about. To increase our involvement with youth outreach. A lot of things in here about reaching out to possible future members to keep our region alive. And one thing that was the most repeated was sharing ideas and resources with each other, that we need to spend more time sharing those successes and things that work so we can help each other. Another thing that I really personally take to heart and feel strongly about is bolstering all ensembles. One thing about the fact that we are such a big region geographically is that we need to be paying attention to all regions or all people in the regions at all times, where their location is. Are they small? Are they big? Are they medium? Are they big hitters at contest? Are they more community oriented and perhaps aren't as interested in contest? Are we celebrating them and their goals and their success? Which leads us to the next one. Celebrate the uniqueness of every regional member and ensemble. So ensemble, every quartet, every small group that goes out into their community, every chorus. And this includes DEI, young members, older members. Are we celebrating all this unique talent? And lastly, another one that was mentioned a few times was collaborating more with other barbershop singing communities. So some choruses, let's say Sirens, for example, has a strong relationship with their local BHS and they can help each other. What can we learn from that as a region? And what can we learn about ourselves and what Sweet Adelines has to offer by also collaborating with other communities? So from these questions and many conversations that I've had with within our RMT and with other leaders, this started to create ideas about what our vision might be. And we met with Sharon Cartwright, who did an amazing job just breaking down where are we at, where can we go? And she helped us create our new vision, which I'm going to give you right now. Look at that.
And can you just move the cursor over, Jen, so it's not in the middle of the
You,
screen?
you mean you don't want me to be like this?
Thank
Okay.
you.
There you go. Thanks. So our vision is a flourishing community of singers united in celebration of our unique strengths, successes, and endless possibilities. So looking at this, themes are flourishing, community, being united, celebrating, unique, and what's possible. So we're very excited about this new vision, and decisions that we make as an RMT for our region are going to be keeping this vision in mind when we make choices. So after we worked on our vision, we went to the next step, which is kind of where we're at now, where we said, well, how can we put this together? We have such a great region already. We've done an amazing job through COVID and getting out of COVID. Where do we go next? And how can this vision guide us? So we divided up those ideas and things that we wanted to accomplish into what we're calling the 4 pillars. So the 4 pillars of our plan. Those are communication, education, wellness, and unity. By the way, if you have questions, you can probably put them in the chat. I don't know if I'll have time to answer anything before Jen.
I'll be monitoring
Thank you
If there's
so
anything, I'll bring
much.
it up.
Thank you so much, Alexis. Okay, so communication is the first pillar. And this is mostly going to be headed up by our marketing coordinator, Alexis, who helped me do these wonderful presentation slides, and our communication coordinator, Deb Saki. So these are just some ideas that we've been talking about under these pillars. a more user-friendly website, perhaps, a better email database, consistent branding, a unified market strategy, and an inclusive communication plan. Let's make sure everyone is getting the word. Let's make sure chapter at large people are included. Let's make sure everyone who needs to know things gets that, and that we are communicating about many different groups, many different things. So I asked in preparation for today our RMT members, I said, what are you excited about? Like, what is it that we're working on that you're excited about in your particular pillar? So we're going to hear, and this would be a good time to turn your sound up if you need to. I know that I was loud, but I don't know if the videos are going to be. Okay, so we're going to hear from Alexis. Ooh, I'm sorry, Alexis, I have to press your nose. There you go.
I am excited about the new branding initiatives and using our mission and our vision to get everything really cohesive, maybe new website, maybe some new marketing tools, just everything to keep Region Fresh looking as sharp as it feels.
And we'll hear from our communication coordinator, Debbie.
Hi, I'm Debbie Saki, the Regional Communication Coordinator. There are lots of pieces to the communication pillar underneath our vision. So I'm really looking forward to working with each of our awesome RMT members to make sure that you learn all about the vision and the initiatives that support it. I can't wait.
She's so cute. Okay, the next pillar we're going to talk a little bit about is education. And we have such a solid education program in Region 15 as it is. I mean, we have great events like this one and Quartet Day and Vocal Fest and things that go on throughout the year. But what can we do even more to support this vision? Here are some of the things that we're talking about doing. Regional outreach, to youth. Director and leadership sharing, targeted instruction to what do choruses, different choruses need that might be uniquely to them. Update our faculty program. And importantly, especially now, is kick off the new Thrive program, which some of you may have heard about, which is a program being put out by Sweet Adelines for faculty work within the regions. So here is education. So this would be a nice addition to what we're currently doing. And we're going to hear from Harriet and Alicia.
As your director coordinator, I'm looking forward to director sharing, director connection, and education for our directors and musical leaders, along with our education coordinator, Alicia Caron. Come on, y'all.
Hi, I'm Alicia Caron, and I'm the education coordinator for the region. And under the education pillar, I'm really excited to be creating a new day that's just for the directors and the music teams to come and learn some really great information to bring back to their choruses.
The next pillar is unity, and this is a little bit harder to clarify through events because really it's how we do things in the region that promote unity. So under this umbrella is, this is the umbrella that I am under, and also Deanna, our events coordinator. And you'll also hear in this section from our new RMT associate, Jen Wiseman, who will be supporting all of the pillars. So under unity, here are some of the things that we're talking about. Trying to find ways to bring members together, support collaborations between quartets and choruses, remove any artificial barriers like, oh, they're up there, or they're down here, or they wouldn't be interested. Let's try to move away barriers and try to be as inclusive as possible. And there we go. And promote inclusion of all different types within our region. Hi everyone, I'm Jen Hunter, your regional team coordinator, and I'm here to talk about the Unity Pillar and something I'm really excited about. We're going to be putting together a group which for now we're calling the Culture Club. And this will be a group of fun, dynamic people from across the region. We're going to ask them to dream up ways to connect us beyond our individual ensembles. We're going to create new friendships and fresh collaborations, and hopefully a more united region overall. So keep an eye out for information about how you might get involved.
Hi, I'm Deanna, Events Coordinator. I'm excited to be working on the Unity Pillar. One thing we'll be doing this year is reaching out to survey our chapter at large members to ensure that all of us are included in receiving the regional details that we need to be informed and up to speed with our regional involvement. I also look forward to supporting the Unity Pillar with all the members of the RMT as we make our visits around the region. Hope to see you soon.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Wiseman, and I'm an associate member on the regional management team. This initiative excites me the most because it's going to allow us to get to know each other better and do a lot more collaboration, and I think that's going to be awesome.
And our last pillar is wellness. And this involves chorus and quartet and member wellness. And we're not just talking about like health wellness, but we're talking about financial wellness. We're talking here about management within choruses, culture, having vision statements, and things like that that create more cohesive choruses and also therefore a more cohesive region. So here's some of the things we're talking about here. We want to build stronger RMT relationships with the region. At this point in time, each chorus has a liaison who checks in with them quarterly, may come in for a visit. We want to continue and strengthen these relationships even more so that we can really find out what you need and what we can do to support you. We're going to try to celebrate all types of success. As I mentioned earlier, some choruses prefer to, be out in the community and do lots of shows and gigs. Maybe their main focus isn't what happens at contests. Maybe that's something that they do for other goals to reach, to better themselves, but it may not be their whole thing. So let's celebrate those successes. The success isn't only driven by what happens at contest. So we're excited to get to know what all of the different choruses and ensembles and quartets goals are, so we can celebrate their successes. We want to support new members. This year we did a video walkthrough of the pattern and the regional weekend that was sent out and shared during one of Evelyn's membership meets. And that got some really good feedback, and we'd like to continue to find ways to support new members. Financial health, the regional financial health and the financial health of all of the choruses. How can we help you share ideas for fundraising? How can we help you with your bookkeeping or other kinds of dues collection? Like, what can we do to help you there to make your chorus well financially? And membership growth and retention. We know Evelyn is killing it with these membership meets, and we're going to continue to share ideas on how we can grow our membership and keep our membership. So we're going to hear from Susan, our financial coordinator, and Evelyn.
I'm Susan Christek, the Regional Finance Coordinator. As part of the Wellness Pillar, we're
we're looking to share successes across the region. That includes things like fundraising that's working well, or how you're getting members more involved in leadership positions.
Evelyn Langenstein, Membership Coordinator. What am I most excited about and why? I'm most excited about the opportunity to work with all of you, to continue the journey that we've begun in sharing and celebrating our successes at a regional, at a chorus, as well as at an individual level that will result in an increased sense of belonging, of community, and ultimately wellness and joy for Region 15.
So there you have it. That's what we are ready to share with you, our 4 pillars and our vision. And our next steps are to continue to define how we can do this and how we are going to monitor our success. And you'll be hearing from us. I'd love to know what you're excited about. What are some things you'd like to see under these pillars? And if you want to share those in the chat, I can take a look at them. And I know we won't have time to talk about them today, but be sure that I will look at them. And I'm also going to put my email in the chat. And anyone who'd like to send me some feedback, what do you feel about this? Do you have any concerns about it? And what are you excited about? Because this is your region and we're here for you. So that's pretty much the end of my presentation. Hi, everybody. Oh, thank you.
Jen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good job.
And I probably went way over, but but all important stuff. So thank you guys for listening. I'm very excited, and I hope to hear from some of you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jen. It's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for the day and our clinician. Jen is a member of Sweet Adelines International, Harmony Incorporated, and Barbershop Harmony Society. I don't know how she has time to do it all. She sings lead with the internationally ranked chorus, Song of Atlanta, Presto Quartet, as well as Just Saying Quartet in HI and Great River Voices in BHS. Jen has achieved the level of certified director, and she is the frontline director of Scenic City Chorus in SAI and Music City Sound in HI. Jen currently serves on the Region 4 and Region 14 music faculties and has been a part of the teaching community in the Hive, which is HI, and Harmony University for BHS. She also provides private voice instruction, coaching in all 3 barbershop organizations, and making learning tracks for all of us and serving on various committees. So she is very passionate and very busy, and we are so excited to have her here with us today. Take it away, Jen Cooke.
Thank you. And I'm so excited to be here with you all today. I visit your region often and I love it. And I especially love that we've gotten to see kind of this whole strategic planning process in action, because that's going to be the first thing we talk about this morning. So I love how the RMT has set this wonderful example of what that looks like. So we're going to be talking about this more at the chorus level. And as I share this chorus strategic planning thing with you all, it's a thing, very, very high tech. You may see a lot of things that you've done already. You may see things that have worked for you or have not. But as we talk through, feel free to ask questions during the presentation. I like answering questions as we go. Feel free to comment on things that have or have not worked for you. And we'll start out this morning by talking about chorus strategic planning. We're also going to talk later on, one of my favorite things to talk about are how different learning styles affect us as people who work together on the risers and who work together in committees and teams. And then we're going to finish up today just talking about the different things that create a very healthy chorus culture, anything from music to leadership to finances to community engagement. We'll finish up with that today. So as I said, I'm looking forward to being with you all, and seeing all your wonderful familiar faces this morning is fantastic. And if you thought you had to get up early, I just want to remind you that I am an hour earlier than y'all. So yay, I'm going to be peppy this morning, which is so like me. So I'm going to start out by sharing with you all. Give me just a second to share my screen, y'all. Okay, good. That is where I want it to be. Always, when we were doing rehearsals online, when we were on Zoom, always said, this is the time where you get to see me just stare at my computer screen, which is our favorite time. People love it. All right, friends. Here we go. I'm assuming you all can see me all right. And if you cannot, just let me know, please. All right. So we're going to talk about chorus strategic planning and where to begin. So first of all, I have to say I loved what Jen shared about the questions that were asked. Region 15 is and Region 15 can. And that's really kind of where we start off with strategic planning, is talking about what we do well, what we can do better, where we are, and where we want to be. A lot of what I'm talking about today, the end result is very, very important, of course, but the process, I feel, is just as important, because a lot of what the process accomplishes is the members talking to each other, the members really thinking about, okay, what is our chorus? What do we want to accomplish? And kind of having this thought process all going in the same direction. A lot of what I'm going to share with you all too comes from my own personal experience. So I'll share a lot of things that my choruses have done that have really worked, and some things that haven't worked so well. So when you're thinking about your mission and your vision, you're going to think about your own chorus identity, what goals and ideals you have. Member buy-in is very important. So this cannot be done in a vacuum. I have been a part of choruses in the past where the leadership has come up with the mission and vision and goals, and then presented it to the chorus. And see, that's another reason I really love that the RMT asked for input from the members before saying this is where we're headed. Because a lot of times if it's done in a vacuum, the members are like, oh, okay, one more thing. I wasn't a part of this process, so I don't really feel that buy-in. So member buy-in is really, really important. And even Jen saying, hey, tell me what you're excited about. Give us feedback. Tell us what's going to work for you. That's such an important part of strategic planning. And then, of course, then making goals to go along with that. I'm sure many of you who are in any profession that you've had have talked about SMART goals being specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, timely. We'll talk about all of that as well. Interesting pushback that I've gotten before in this kind of strategic planning are people who are saying, I just want to sing. Why are we talking about all this? And I totally get that, because for a lot of people, it's just, this is my getaway. This is my time to just sing and enjoy. But the fact is, as a chorus, if we want to grow together, if we want to share our music with the community, if we want more people to come in and find out how amazing our chorus is and stay with us, mission and vision is very, very important. Even if it's just making sure that all of our arrows are pointing in the same direction, it's an important thing. And usually what I find are the members who give me pushback are after the process go, oh, I'm so glad we did that because I didn't know this, or I had this conversation with this person. So it is an important process, and the process and the communication are really some of the most compelling parts of that. So when you think about what you do well, so when my chorus did this, and when I say my chorus, I'm going to speak mainly about my Sweet Adeline chorus. They've been in existence for more than 60 years, and I've been directing them, I think, close to 15 years, I'm pretty sure. So they're the ones I have the most experience with. So when we went through this process, a lot of it was just the chorus sitting down and talking about, who are we? Why do I come to chorus every week? What do we do well? And there was a great process that went along with this. And I do want to say, when we did our chorus strategic planning, I was not the one who led that planning. And there was a good reason for that. A lot of times when I, as the director, lead something, the chorus is like, okay, what does Jen want to hear? That's what I'm going to say. And so we wanted to pull that process away from being director centered. We just had a new member join who was a previous middle school principal. So, like she's super tough, right? But also just very straightforward, great communicator. And she was like, Jen, you need to I'll be happy to lead this. It needs to be someone other than you. And she's done a beautiful job and has been such an asset to both of my choruses, actually. She's in both of them. So basically, we sat down, we had little sticky notes and said, okay, let's talk about chorus identity. How would you describe this chorus in one word? And then we took all the sticky notes and we put them into categories that were similar, like people who said things that were more social, like friendship and connection and family. We put that in one column. Or if they were talking about music and excellence or all of that, or performing. So basically putting those in the different categories and people saying, oh, we have a lot of Post-it notes in this category. So that really describes us. Like a lot of our members feel very similar about that. Or, oh, I see we don't have as many here, but that might be something we want to build up. So it's just a way to really get a quick picture of how the chorus members view the chorus. And me being the director, I was like musical excellence, musical excellence, musical excellence. And they're writing family and connection. And I'm like, okay, this is also a great way for me to see these are my goals for the chorus, but this is how the chorus views themselves more. And that also really helps guide what I do as a director. So it was really eye-opening for me in the best possible way. Although there were some that said musical excellence, and I was very happy about that. But just how we view that. So there are different ways to do it. Like there's also doing the chorus survey. There, we'll talk about self-evaluations, and the self-evaluations I'm going to just touch on. I'm going to actually talk about that more in my third class today. Also, getting input from community partners is a great idea. So if you already have community entities that you partner with, asking them, when you think of our chorus, what words come to mind? How do you view us? Because getting input from outside sources as well as inside sources really gives a well-rounded view of what picture your chorus is creating out there. And input from close non-members. I know everyone has a family member that they can say, hey, when you think of our chorus, what's besides the fact that, it takes me away one night a week. What are some other things that you think of when you think of the chorus? And that's really eye-opening as well. So really just starting out with, how are we viewed now? What is the picture of our chorus now? I'm going to move, and then we also self-assessment, and this talks more about leadership and member self-assessment. So as you're going through and thinking about your chorus, it's also thinking about leadership, because many times you're going to get input from the members, and we'll talk about this more later on. Leadership really does set a lot of what the culture looks like. And so self-assessment from leadership really helps with that a lot. But again, we're identifying different perceptions and opinions among members. And then this will talk more about what leadership looks like through that. But I will get to that later on. That's just some ideas of that. All right. And then there are some resources. I'm going to provide a PDF of all of this to your RMT. So you'll have all the links and all of that. You won't have to write those down or take screenshots or anything like that unless you want to. And so then thinking about what we can do better. So that can always be like a tricky question depending on how you word it, but it's important to know. For instance, I tended to be very competition minded with my chorus. Like that was our big thing, beside that and the annual show. But to me, competition was like the big thing of the year. And we found out from what we can do better is that my chorus really wanted to do a lot more community performances. They really wanted to be out in Chattanooga doing things. And that was something that wasn't as on my radar. And that helped us. Okay, so a lot of the chorus wants to do community performances. How are we going to put that into our goals and mission and vision to make that happen? So again, it's really eye-opening. Chorus surveys, chorus communication, and really what I think Vicky communicated well to the chorus is that this isn't a time to air a personal issue with the chorus. This is a time to think about us as a group and what are things that we can do better to better share our music, to better serve our members, to better serve our community. So finding that balance of, you may have a personal issue that is specific to you that you need to talk about, but this isn't the time to talk about that. This is the time to talk about how we benefit the chorus. So that's kind of where we start. And I have found those conversations to be really wonderful in a lot of ways and so interesting. And we found that it was so compelling that what we planned for one rehearsal night actually went on for a couple of different times. So that's another thing I want to stress is there's no set timeline for this per se. Sometimes choruses really need to talk about this. Sometimes one night you're like, okay, this all makes sense. We're all pointing in the same direction. We can go from there. So not to impose any kind of timeline where we have to get this done in a certain amount of time. Now, obviously, you don't want it to drag on and on and on, but you also want to make sure that there's time for your members to be heard and time for the conversations to be had. And when you feel like you're really going in that direction, then it's time to talk about your mission and your vision. Now, you may just want to do vision. You may just want to do mission. You may want to do both. I'm going to talk about both. You may already have done this with your chorus. And this may be a time for you to say, well, when's the last time we've really looked at our mission and our vision? Do our members know what our mission and vision are? Does it align with who we are now? So a lot of times, if you've already done this, it's a great time to revisit it and see if it's still aligning with who you are as a chorus. So, but again, who are you? So core values, beliefs, the fundamental beliefs of who you are. And a lot of that gets done when you're talking to your chorus, like who do we see how do we see ourselves? What are these core values that we've figured out? The mission statement is why you exist. Why are you here? What are you doing? And then the vision statement talks about, okay, this is who you are. Where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years? Where do you want to be next year? What kind of thing? And that kind of goes along with what can we improve? What can we do better? What does our end state look like at a specific moment in time? Needs to be clear and simple. Now I say clear and simple, I'm going to share Scenic City's mission and vision with you at some point, and they're definitely a little wordier than they need to be, but that is what it is right now. Obviously you're going to avoid words that are specific to barbershop, kind of like if your mission is to ring chords, a lot of people who are outside the organization are not going to know what that means. So when you're thinking about mission and vision, you're thinking about it within the organization, but also as people come to visit you and may become members, as sponsors or other arts entities look at you and say, okay, how can we work together? How can we collaborate? Thinking about what it looks like from the inside and the outside. All right. So if we look at our mission, so these are some ideas. As you write a mission statement, you can think about a lot of different things. And I'm going to encourage you. So far I've talked about chorus buy-in and chorus participation in this process. When it comes to wordsmithing your actual mission statement, I would advise not trying to do that with the entire chorus because you'll get in the weeds. It will take forever because everyone has a different idea of how things should be worded. So my advice is go through the process of who we are, how do you see us, what can we do better, what is our mission, bring that together, wordsmith with a smaller group of people, and then present it back to the chorus and say, does this accurately reflect who we are and what our mission is? And then you can definitely get feedback. But if you try to wordsmith with even, even a smaller chorus or whatever, it just really, you're just going to get bogged down. So definitely think about that. Start with a story. Like imagine a real person making the decision to join your chapter. Why do they want to join? What draws them to your chorus? What will keep them coming back? How will a member's life be better because of chapter membership? And incidentally, that's a great question to ask your chorus. How is your life better because of this chorus, because of Scenic City? Consider what you do with the community, what you do for established members. There are a lot of different aspects you can use when writing a mission statement. And incidentally, tons of resources that you can find on the internets, on the interwebs. There are many, many things that you can find that will help in writing a mission statement. So you can definitely research and you can find, just type in how do I write a mission statement? You're going to find a lot of stuff. So use what's best for you. Edit, polish, review, revise, all of that stuff. And I'm going to keep the chat open as well. Chat GPT can help as well. Yes, for sure. Thank you. I'm going to keep that open. Is the chat window blocking anything you all are seeing right now on my screen?
We do not see your chat window.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Gotcha.
So going through all that, then Scenic City came up with our mission statement. Scenic City Chorus is an a cappella group dedicated to continually striving for musical excellence. See how I got that in there? And personal growth within a fun, caring musical family, which regularly contributes to the community through performance, education, and service. It's kind of a big mission statement, but it does encompass everything that my members wanted to see us do. And we'll talk more about that with vision and our goals. Incidentally, then, this logo that you see with the tree, with the 4 different colored leaves, and then the bottom of the tree is a music note, that that logo came directly from our mission and vision, our vision and mission process. So we talked about having roots in the community, about how we grow together. All of those things work together to create that logo. So our branding came from the mission statement, from the vision statement, so that they're all working together. And then when you talk about vision, it should align to your mission. So we've set our mission statement. This is who we are. Now, how do we want to see that come forth in our future? How are we going to make that mission happen? And now that we see who we are and what we do, where do we see ourselves in 5 to 10 years? What are things that we want to do? Ambitious enough to be exciting, but not so ambitious that it seems unachievable. And so our vision, which is also big, Scenic City Chorus aspires to be a well-recognized and respected a cappella performance entity that partners with other arts entities in the greater Chattanooga area. Chorus members enthusiastically educate and entertain others as they strive for musical excellence. They hold themselves as a group and as individuals to high standards, which will foster growth and a bright future for each singer. Again, it's probably too wordy. We're going to be revisiting it, but it does encompass everything that we want to be, everything that we see ourselves being in the future, what we aspire to be. So all of these things, as you can see, work together. And again, this ended up being something that really just kind of united us. And it not only unites us musically, but unites us as the administration part of our chorus. And we'll talk about that in SMART goals. Once you have mission and vision, it actually really helps with a lot of the decision-making process that happens musically and administratively. Because when we are at an impasse, when we're not sure where to go, we go back to the mission and vision and goals and say, are we what decision aligns best with this? What really feeds who we say we are? And that really helps us make decisions in a more mindful way and more in a way that aligns with everything else we do. For our current membership, this really helps connect our chorus members, because now we're all realizing, oh, we all feel this way about this, and we all want to go in this direction. Sometimes members can feel really overwhelmed just trying to stay involved in chorus activities. And so this just really, again, help line us up, and it helps members really fully engage with the chorus identity, saying, this is who we are, this is us, this is me in this chorus. And it can also help guide members in ways to connect and contribute. So as we looked at goals, which I'll talk about in just a minute, it helped us kind of, as we think about jobs within the chorus, it helped us break them up into more manageable chunks, but also more focused things that are happening. Like if our goal is this, we need one person to do this one thing within the goal. And someone was saying, oh, I can do that. Like I may not be able to contribute to the team year round, but I can do this one thing that contributes to our goal because it's in my wheelhouse and I can manage that. So it also helps us with delegation and management of jobs. It helps members identify their areas of strength within this context. And it helps, we can brainstorm ways to achieve manageable contributions for every member. So it's not just the same 10% doing all the work, but able to say, oh, here's one thing, and I know this person will be good at it, and it's super manageable. So it really helped us align that. And then for potential members, I use this process of mission, vision, goals a lot when I teach my membership classes, because I really believe that the more a chorus knows who they are, the more that people who, potential members who come are going to say, oh, I click with this. This makes sense. I feel my identity within this. So the more we know who we are, the more we're going to attract members who not only feel that same sense of purpose, but who are more likely to stay with the chorus. That 1 to 3 year period of time right after a member joins is the crucial time where they really decide if they're going to be a part of this chorus in the long term, or this isn't really working for me. And the more we know who we are and where we're going, the more likely new members coming in are going to be able to connect and stay with that sense of purpose. So I use that a lot in membership. I think I heard someone unmute. Do I have a question or comment? Nope. Okay, just making sure. So sharing the mission and vision with potential new members is definitely, you don't have to like just constantly tell them about it, but as you're talking to them, and it depends on what your guest process is, but a lot of times I do voice placement, so I spend some time talking individually to the incoming guest, saying, hey, by the way, this is who we are, this is what we want to accomplish, and it's a really cool thing, and kind of bringing that in. I do say really cool thing a lot to them because I love my chorus so much. Like, you're going to love them too. Connecting it with chorus expectations, and later on discussing, you know, how do you see yourself in the context of this mission and vision as you come in? All depends on the incoming guest, and not overwhelming them, but also saying, hey, this is who we are. This is how you might be a part of that. It's the whole sense of being a part of something bigger than yourself and seeing where that's going that really, really attracts new members. So once you have your mission and vision, then you can start looking at your SMART goals to align with that. So specific goals, obviously, manageable goals. So I have been with choruses before who have been really excited about this process to the point where they have created a set of goals for themselves which really aren't manageable. They're just excited and enthusiastic. So keeping in mind that as you set goals, these are your first set of goals, and you're going to think about things. Yes, these are things we can accomplish within the next year, 2 years, 3 years. These are the things that we can do and will bring us success. So really thinking about what's manageable. Again, all our arrows pointing in the same direction as we go along, and keeping those policies and procedures current, relevant, and establishing a culture, though, of possibility thinking, of these are things, yes, we can actually do these things. We can make these things happen. Sometimes we can deal with members who are maybe a little discouraged for a variety of reasons that have, nothing to do with leadership, but just all these factors that may come in to a chorus. I haven't felt like I'm singing well. I haven't felt like I've been a part of the chorus. I haven't been contributing the way I want to. So establishing this culture of, here are the things we can do. Here are the things that we can really make a difference in our members' lives and in our community. So our goals, we chose 5 goals for musical excellence, consistently singing at an A- level. So for me, that as a director guides the coaches that I bring in. It guides the way that I run rehearsals. It guides what we do as a chorus with music. For education, we want to work with the youth in the community and in the schools. And we said a minimum of one event each year. That's something we can manage, one event each year to provide education relating to a cappella singing. That may be a festival. That may just be going into a school, offering in-school field trips and teaching about barbershop. That may be a local tag singing with the youth type thing. So one a year is what we decided. In partnerships, we're going to participate in at least one collaborative musical activity with I need to fix the spacing on that, with an entity that is new to us. So that may be inviting a high school chorus to sing on our show. It may be working with the Chattanooga children's choir to learn a piece together. Just one thing there. Community service. So not only do we want to sing in the community, we want to serve the community. So we are offering 3 community service events. That may be a clothing drive. That may be volunteering at an event. Those were ways that, non-musical ways, that we decided we want to connect with our community to continue to deepen those roots. And then the fun socializing part, plan a social event each quarter. And that a lot of times ended up being a bonfire at one of our friends, one of our members' houses, or we had bunco night for a while, which I did not know anything about bunco, and I still don't. But we had those nights at anything that just a game night at our chorus, those types of things. So those were our SMART goals for the year. And really it was for the following 3 years, because we were going to try to do that every year. And again, it was so helpful to have this specificity, because when we have to make decisions, now we actually have goals to which we can align our decisions. And that made a big difference in how we ran as a chorus. It especially helped, it helped me in our musical direction, and it helped our administration with a lot of decision making, because now we had specific goals that we were aligning, to which we were aligning. It really helped. So I'm going to turn off my camera overlay. Alexis said earlier that it looks like Glinda, my little bubble, when I pop in and out, but I'm popping out right now. So training, then, our leadership teams now have unified expectations. We have clear purpose. So when we are thinking about education for our leadership, and when we're going to regional events, we can choose classes or look at classes within the context of these shared goals, mission, vision. It helped our communication more, because we had these goals and all of this in front of the chorus a lot. And I was able to say, hey, I just talked to this coach about coming to us because they're going to help us with this part of our goal setting and this part of our musical goals. Again, having those outside resources, regional and international alignment with what you're doing. Follow through is important. So we're not just making these and then saying, hey, we did it, and then going on with our regular lives. Like, these are things that we will always keep in mind as we go through everything we do. Public endorsement is really important. So I'm going to tell you a short story. And this has nothing to do with our goals per se with this. It was something else. There was something else that our board was presenting to the chorus, and it was a difficult thing to present. And we knew there was going to be pushback. And unfortunately, and each one of our board members was going to lead a small group in discussing it. And it was going to be a difficult discussion, but worthwhile. Unfortunately, one of the board members, when they were talking to their group, said, well, I didn't really vote for this. Like, this isn't really something I was for. And that, of course, just broke down the talks completely. So it is important, and we'll talk about later on when we talk about leadership, and we're going to talk about consensus and fist to five and that kind of thing. It is important that everyone in leadership has a united front on these are the things we're doing, and we are supporting these things. Now, there may be different levels of support. There may be one little thing that one person doesn't agree with necessarily, but it is important that we endorse these things publicly so we can all be in the same direction. And if we've done consensus and that kind of thing, then everyone should be basically on board with all of these things. And then levels of delegation, I'm going to talk about a little bit more in my third class, but that allows us now to delegate things that have purpose and meaning because they're all going in the same direction with these goals. And it also connects all of the teams together. So membership team, you have the same goals as the marketing team, and we can work together within this context. So it really does help bring everyone together in that connection. I'm back. So that training. And then, of course, for membership, we really talked about, hey, now that we've said all of these things, we're going to work together as individual members within these goals. And again, Vicki she's such a great example, because now what I've done in chorus is we have a 10-minute time set aside that's just education time. And a lot of time that's Vicki with team building and talking about it with the goals. Like, so for instance, she said, one of our goals is musical excellence. So the way I'm going to contribute to that is I'm going to try to be off the paper on our music earlier than I usually am. I'm going to set a goal for myself to be off the paper earlier. So she not only says, here are our goals, but here is a way that I, as an individual member, am going to contribute to that goal. And she makes them super manageable. Like for someone else, it may be, I'm going to listen to the learning tracks on a daily basis until I really feel like I understand the music. That's how I'm going to contribute to the musical excellence of the chorus. So that really allows members to buy in, and buy in from where they are, instead of feeling like, okay, I've got to take on all this extra stuff in order to be a part of this chorus. No, I can do this one thing, this one little thing, and it's going to contribute to this great big awesome direction in which the chorus is going. So it really helps the members with that. There's where I have my consensus fist to five. So it also helps as we look at goals to make sure that the members have consensus with all of the goals. So again, a lot of the wordsmithing we did do at the leadership level, but then it comes back to the chorus and saying, can you support this? Will you support this? Does this make sense within who we are? Does it make sense in the direction we're going? So getting that member buy-in is important. Then having some sort of chorus survey where it's just like, okay, now because we're headed in this direction, here's some opportunities for you to contribute. Like, can you share our social media posts on a regular basis? Can you make our social media posts? It's like the whole gamut of, here are the things, here are the ways that you can contribute as a member. And then having safe, easy, and varied communication. So, oh, am I going to remember what the 3 C's stand for? Because we haven't used that box in a while. Compliments, concerns. Oh, there's one more. It'll come back to me. I have that on from a previous class. We don't use the CC box anymore because we have online stuff. Website suggestion box, because I am a long distance director. So I'm about 2.5 hours away from my chorus in Chattanooga. I also have a time called office hours where my members can sign on to my little Calendly thing and reserve a time to just call me, and they can talk about anything they want. If they're like, I hate my place on the risers, Jen, why did you put me there? Or, hey, I just want to tell you what's going on with my life. Or, hey, I'm struggling a little bit. Or, hey, how can I help? Office hours are a great way for the course members to communicate with me directly or with leadership directly. And then, of course, just communicating during rehearsal time, having that educational time where we can not only talk about our goals, but model how can we as an individual member contribute to that. We as an individual member, that didn't quite work, but hey, we're going to keep going with that. I'm back. All right. So then when we look at the opportunities that happen from that. So again, like I said, goals determine course direction, education and coaching, marketing, administration choices. So finding education that aligns with your goals, being aware of your regional resources. And I would say Region 15 has exceptional regional resources. Like, I have no doubt there are people on the RMT who can probably lead you through this whole mission, vision, and goal setting process if you need someone from the outside to do that. Funded visits are changing a little bit, I know. Also just having, your coordinators, like if you're a membership person in your chorus is, I'm struggling, like, well, let's talk to our membership coordinator at the regional level and see how they can help us, right? Visiting other choruses, partnering with other choruses to share educational expenses. I've done that, like, hey, I'm bringing in this coach and they are amazing. Would you like to be a part of this? Would you like to come and join? That kind of thing. And then leadership publicly pursuing education, continuing education. I'm constantly telling my chorus, hey, I just had this coaching and now guess what? I'm doing this with you. Or I just went to this great class and here's how it can affect our chorus. So really bringing in those education things, but now they're closely aligned to the direction in which you are going. Also making the most of coaching with that. So choosing coaches that align with your goals as a chorus, communicating with the coaches beforehand, like saying, here is our mission and vision, here are our goals, and this is how I see you within that. Making the most of regional, international funded visits. Of course, having note takers, recording all sessions. This is more general use of coaching. But it is important as we are thinking about education and our goals to make sure all of our members are informed in all of the ways. Listening to coaching sessions and then planning next steps with the team. Like, okay, our goal is to sing at an A- level. So what can we take from this coaching and continue on that will bring us to that level? What are our next steps as we follow up with this? And then planning ahead for multiple events to solidify all that learning, communicating with members, all of those clear expectations. And then, of course, marketing as well. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to go back from that. That's going to come in later. Wow, that was weird that impediments were first. Actually, I will go back just a little bit. I'm going to go backwards with this. I need to fix that in my presentation. So, like I said, our course logo came from our mission, vision, and goals. And the same thing, like on a website, anything you're marketing to the outside world should be all aligned with that. I'm going to talk about this also. I have this exact same screen in our third class talking about the website and marketing, how important the website is, because it really is our outside face to the world. many of my members I have found, we have Meetup and it works really well, but many of my incoming guests have just said, I Googled you and I found you. And because part of our mission and vision now on the website also includes DEI, we've had people come in and say, I know this is a safe place for me to be. I'm looking for this, and I feel already that I'm welcome and safe in this place. So that kind of communication is really important when it comes to the website. We're going to talk more about that in healthy course culture, and that's why I'm going to rush through this for right now, because we will talk about it more in depth in the next class, and I want to make sure I'm being timely. So next steps for you. Next steps as a chorus and as leaders. Does your chorus already have a mission and vision? And if so, how old is it? Does it still reflect who you are as a chorus and where you want to be? Does your chorus have SMART goals? Does your chorus need SMART goals? And if so, what should those look like? Should you have just one goal for the year, 3 goals, 5 goals, 10 goals? Don't do 10 goals. That's too much. But how many goals should we have and what should they look like? How can we make them manageable? Then in what direction are our music and admin going? Are our music and admin working together? Are we all on the same page about where we go? And then what does our education look like with that? So, like I said, after the self-assessment, after doing mission and vision, getting that chorus consensus on SMART goals, saying, do these accurately represent where we are? What needs to be changed? No rush on that. Categorizing goals, like musical excellence obviously falls largely under me and my musical team, but not always. Posting the goals, reminding of the goals. Even it might be as simple as saying, hey, you know what? Remember we had this goal of being involved in the community? Well, we have this volunteer opportunity happening next month, and we all want to be a part of that because that's a part of our community goal, or thinking about how you can contribute. And so when in doubt, refer to the goals and then shift if necessary to make sure you're lining up with that. Sometimes you have to shift to the goals, and that is okay as well. Sometimes you may find this goal no longer applies to us just by virtue of where we're going, and we need to redefine that. And then, like I said, it also will inform musical direction, leadership, choosing music, planning, coaching, all of those things, creating a help network. So creating these things that will help our members achieve our musical goals in whatever way possible. And then it also informs our education. All of those things, team building, self-evaluation, all of those things. So next steps for your course, and I'm actually going to, hold please, get out of the camera overlay, stop sharing, and put this camera back on. There it goes, yay, huzzah. So as you think about this, and I wanna make sure I'm staying timely, which so far I'm doing well. I like to share a lot of things. Does anyone want to share quickly just anything that has worked for your course or not, or just where your course is, where you think you might want to go with this? Anything at all for the good of the whole. Just feel free to unmute or electronically raise your hand. Do you know now that Zoom has this thing where if you raise your hand in real life, it will electronically like raise your hand for you? Like, I just think that's very cool.
Depending on what version you're using, but yeah.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, might have to update. All right, anyone? I'm a teacher, so I have good wait time. Is there anyone who, so first of all, let's do raising of hands. How many of you already have a mission and vision? Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. How many of you think, did that electronically raise your hand, Jen? Did you have it open up? Okay. How many of you think that a mission and vision, if you don't have mission and vision, would be helpful for your chorus going forward? Good, I see hands, awesome. The hands that are raised, okay, perfect. And then what about how many of you who already have mission and vision think it might be a good time to revisit that? You have it. Awesome. Awesome. That's fantastic, friends. Excellent. So my advice as a facilitator today is call upon your resources. You may have someone in your course who's very capable of taking your course through it, but you may also want to bring in outside help for that, which I highly recommend. I'm always available, but I also know you have a super, super just great RMT who can really help you with that as well. And I have no doubt that there are people on your RMT who can facilitate. I know that there are different ways you can do that. So, and I'm sure the RMT has resources of people who can also help facilitate with that. So outside facilitation, I highly recommend. Otherwise, you're probably going to get your course just saying whatever they think you want to happen. Awesome. Any questions about anything that I just shared with that whole process? All right, I think I've looked all of you in the eye, whether you know it or not, to make sure of that. I think, Alicia, maybe this is a good time to take a break before we get into the other two. Is that all right?
Sure, that sounds great.
I'm fine with a 10-minute break if that works for everyone.
It's fine with me. Whatever you want to do.
Why don't we take a 10-minute break, get some coffee if you need it, or whatever else you might need. Let's be back, at 10:25 your time.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jen.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jen.
Absolutely.
I can't wait until I export this video because I already am like, I want to do timestamps and be like, okay, these are the parts I want you guys to look at. For people who aren't here.
Yay.
I know it really,
Sounds great.
the marketing part really goes along with what we were talking about, Alexis.
Yeah.
Really?
And it makes sense too, because like I've been noodling with like new regional branding stuff and possible logo stuff, but I'm like, we need to get a little further in our stuff.
Yes.
So I can make sure that it's like, because I'm like, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this, we could, you know what I mean? So yeah.
I totally get that. Yes, and I'm definitely going to talk more about the website stuff, third class, because it really is like so important. Yeah.
Well, and it's one of those things too, where like websites serve so many purposes. So even like within that, it's like, what is the mission of your website, right? Like, are you serving your chorus? Or again, from the regional perspective, right? Am I serving the region? Which regional websites tend to be mostly internal, but then what if you want people from other regions to be able to use it? That's a different level of literacy and access. What if you want people who are not barbershop or people from other barbershop organizations, other singing organizations, right? Like it's another way to think about the way things need to be accessible or the way information is presented.
Yes.
If you want civilians to be able to attend regional, right? They need to be able to get that ticket information very easily, things like that.
Yeah, that's interesting because I definitely think the regional website is a much different animal than the chorus website, because the chorus website is meant to draw people in. And yeah, the regional one, that's interesting. I'll be interested to see what you come up with finally.
I will also be interested to see what I come up with finally.
Gonna have to share that when you do, because I think a lot of regions struggle with that big time.
Yeah.
Don't you love Alexis's energy? It's
always,
awesome.
always. Yes, I do. Elizabeth's like, no, I do not.
Elizabeth texted me, by the way. She's like, good morning. I get up for barbershop. Whenever the quartet is planning things, they're always like, okay, what time do we want to get together? And I say nothing.
Yeah.
And I just look at them and I was like, y'all tell me what time you want to do things. I was like, and I will get up for barbershop.
I am the same way with my quartet. They're like, let's start singing. Let's get together at 8. And I'm like, 8 in the morning? Really?
We can get together at 8. We're just going to pitch everything down. I don't warm up till 10. No.
I know. Our quartet's 2 and 2. Like the other two.
Really?
Jen and I are like not morning people, and the other two are like up at 6 a.m. We're just
Oh.
like,
We're a
let's
3 and
do-
1.
Repeat
I'm
Offenders
3
was
and
2
1
and 2.
too.
But
Yes.
Variety Pack, I feel like, is a little more 3 and 1.
Yeah.
Because I've got 2 teachers.
Yeah.
And then I've also got Heather, who's just like a get up and go human.
Oh.
I'm a
No, I
teacher,
have
and I like getting up.
two members with small children who get up early, and then one who
And then the
works
normal people.
nurse forever. So no, it's
And
3
the
on 1
normal
for me.
people.
Oh, it's 3 and 1. Oh.
Yes, it's 3 and 1.
I will get up for rubber shot.
Where you have to learn to compromise.
Lindsay will sometimes glance at me and go, let's do 9. I'm like, yes, Lindsay.
Like, thank you.
When Illuminate is at contest weekend on Sunday, by the time Alicia and I get up, Becky and Sherry have already driven 3 to 4 hours back home. They've already texted us that they're home. And Alicia and I are just waking up.
Now I am an early driver. Like I will leave or
Saturday night
drive,
at 2 in the morning into Sunday.
Yes, I do. I do drive overnight a lot. I'm just so hyper at that point. I'm not going to sleep.
And I'm the other way. I'm like, I leave the hotel whenever I leave, and then I usually go out to brunch with people, and then I usually drive people home, and then I get home. So like I'm the last person in the quartet to be like, I'm home. I'm usually like leaving brunch when other people are like, I'm home.
It's worth it for brunch though.
Well, we also have a really great place where our contest is now called the Whistling Kettle, where they've got like all, you could do afternoon tea, and they do all of the different teas that are really good. And
would totally do that.
Yeah. Well, come to Region 15 this year, and you can come with us on Sunday.
I do enjoy, I was bummed I didn't get to go to Region 15 this past
Good.
year. I do want to come back. I enjoyed a lot.
Yeah, we like having you here.
It's a great contest. It's really good.
You know, because you need another affiliation, but you can be
I do.
You could be a Region 15.
I need to retire and just like go to all the regionals, like everyone's regional.
I like that.
Yeah.
That would be a fun little trip. You know how some people are like, oh, I want to see every baseball stadium, you know, in the States or something. That would be a fun thing to just go to all of them. Although it'd be hard on the weekends that have like 4 or 5 of them.
Oh yeah.
It would take
I'd like to see you do that.
It would take a couple of years just because of the scheduling.
Multiple years.
Yeah. There's something really fun about going to a contest and not having any responsibility whatsoever.
That's true.
Although I still get nervous at the call off.
Oh, totally.
No. Even though you have no stake in the game, I still do every time.
I'm just like,
of course, you have a stake. You watched. You have favorites.
That's true. That is a good point. My person wins.
Yeah.
I know, even online watching the webcast.
Right? Yes, Evelyn, I feel that. Like, oh,
Why?
What if they get it wrong?
Oh my gosh.
Have they taken my opinions into account? Perhaps I should text the judges.
Like, you do that text. That one was really good.
+1s.
Oh my gosh.
All my texts would just be like, extra points for base Tiddlies.
Oh, so we have a lot of people going to, it's Columbus this year, right? Columbus? Yay. It's going to be great.
I'm going to Columbus next year.
Nice.
Columbus number 2.
Oh, it's going to be great.
It's a very different ring than Vegas 1, Vegas 2, Vegas 3.
I know, right?
Columbus 1, Columbus 2. Like,
if there were 3 in Columbus, we'd have to call them the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria.
Oh
Thank you.
my God. That is genius.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Well,
Ryan Heller calls them Vegas, 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 and Vegas, Vegas, Vegas.
yeah. I was at Vegas, Vegas.
I was at all Vegases. By the third year, like I knew exactly where I was going. I could find anything. It was handy. Oh, couple more minutes. Oh, and I should probably get my other class up and ready to go.
Yeah, Jen, jeez.
I'm a Midwesterner originally. I was born in Ohio, lived in Michigan, Iowa, and went to school in Ohio. So the fact that it's close enough to drive to and it's in a state that I've been in for lots of years of my life, I'm kind of excited about Columbus.
That's awesome. Where were you born in Ohio?
I was born in Cincinnati and I went to school at Ohio University in Athens.
I was born in Marion, Ohio. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's small.
I've heard of it.
That's
My
so
cousin
cool.
lives there.
What?
Yep.
In Marion?
Yeah.
I like Skyline Chili.
Arts are, I know your cousin.
You like Skyline Chili.
I do.
That is very Cincinnati.
It is.
Sabrina's husband, my lead's husband, is a Cincinnati boy. So I learned about Skyline Chili. Yeah. A long time ago when I lived with them.
Skyline.
On a hot dog with like a tower of cheese on top.
Yeah, it's the cheese. I can't get past the cheese. It's a lot.
It is.
All right, I think we're 1 more minute. Alicia, and I'll just jump in if that's okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Again, everything's being recorded, so we're good.
Awesome. Glad we learned all that stuff. Share that with the region.
Yes. See, it's good. That's building unity because people will get to know more about the people they don't know when they watch the video.
Great. Awesome. All right, I'm going to jump back in. Is that all right, Alicia?
Sure. I put a quick note for everybody in the comment section. So thanks.
Yes. Add course to your name or type in the chat. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Great. All right. So now we're going to talk about something I just find interesting and fascinating. And it's a lot about coexisting and working together with people who have different learning styles. Now, I'm going to do a caveat for this. I'm taking this from 7 Learning Intelligences. There are a lot of different ideas about learning styles, learning intelligences, all of that stuff. It is not an exact science by any means, but I think that you will find yourself and your fellow singers and fellow administrators in this presentation. And a lot of it is about how we can work together on the risers and as leaders to just be more aware of how different people learn and how they work together. So I'm going to share my screen yet again. Oh, wait, hold on. Helps if I turn off my camera first. All right. There it is. All right, so this is coexisting with different learning styles. So we're going to talk about 7 different learning intelligences. And again, this is not all comprehensive. There are a lot of different ways to learn and assimilate information, but we're going to talk about these specifically. And then how they manifest on the risers. We're going to talk a little bit also about how they manifest in meetings and all of that. And then how it's just better understanding of the people around us. All right, I'm going to do this as well. Okay. So objectives for today for this. So we're going to identify various learning styles, discuss ways to determine personal learning styles. Now I say that in actuality, as you hear these described, you're going to go, that's me. Oh, that's not so much me. And keep in mind that these are not silos in that you can be more than one learning intelligence. You can be different ones at different times. And also your environment can determine what learning intelligence you use the most. All right. And we're going to explore rehearsal techniques. So what we do on the risers and during rehearsals that meet each learning style. And we're also going to just look at the different behaviors and how they affect others. Right, so this all came from a retreat I was doing with Betty Clipman, actually. It was quite a while ago. And I was explaining something to the chorus, and she stopped me with her awesome voice I can't imitate, but I love. And she just said, I have a quick question for the chorus. And she said, how many of you consider yourselves to be visual learners? And like 80% of my chorus raised their hand. And she just pointed out to me later on, she said, do you realize that most of the stuff you do, you talk to them? And there's not a lot of things that really connect with your visual learners. And maybe you can think about that. And then she also talked about my oral learners, how I could model the way that I want them to, like by singing instead of just describing it, so that they can better understand it. And that really got me to thinking, okay, how can I really connect with different learners as a director? And so I started looking at learning styles. And these ones I'm looking at, we have visual, oral, verbal, physical, logical, social, and solitary. We're going to talk mainly about these. And what I'm going to invite you to do as I'm describing each one of these, I'd love for you to think about what describes you best. Ironically, I am very much a visual learner. Even though I wasn't necessarily using that when I was teaching my chorus. But for instance, when I'm learning a piece of music, I can listen to the learning tracks, but I will learn much faster if I have the music in front of me. If I can see the dots on the paper, I will learn much faster than just by listening. And on the contrary side, my husband, Chris, is completely an oral learner. He will pick things. He's one of those people who can just play an instrument by listening to a piece of music and picking up an instrument. He just starts to play that music, which is incredibly talented and simultaneously annoying, but he can just do that. And also, well, I'll talk more about him in a minute, just because those are my most immediate examples. But visual learners, you prefer seeing things. You like pictures, you need an image, spatial understanding. If someone's talking about something, it's much easier if they draw it out for you, charts and graphs. If you're visual, you may read and write for enjoyment, be good at putting puzzles together. You like pictures, graphs, charts, enjoy drawing, painting, visual arts. You may easily recognize patterns. A lot of times that's why I like the music, because I can say, oh, this looks like this here, but this is the same passage, but there's a different pattern. Really helps me to see that. So visual learners do that. Now, oral learners, much more, and it's interesting because it's called auditory musical, which I love. Much more depend on what they hear than what they see. So you like sound, you like people telling you about things, you like music when you're learning new material. Growing up, you may have listened to Schoolhouse Rock and learned a lot of things that way. That's still how I know the preamble to the Constitution is Schoolhouse Rock. So for instance, when my husband is speaking to someone who may have a different accent, he will unconsciously start to pick up that accent and use it. So sometimes I have to remind him, now make sure people don't think you're making fun of them. So that kind of thing, you pick up things orally. You may enjoy singing and playing musical instruments. Go with that. You recognize musical patterns and tones by hearing them. You remember songs and melodies by hearing them. That kind of thing. So those are oral learners. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. So how many of you already have heard yourself described as a visual? Okay, good. I see visual and oral learners already. Keeping in mind, this may not be the only way you learn. So let's talk about more of these. I always find this so interesting. Come on, you know you want to share. There we go. All right. So now, if you are a verbal or linguistic learner, you prefer using words, both in speech and writing, when you are assimilating new material. So I'm going to tell you right now, these are the people who talk on the risers. And a lot of times they may not be even talking about what you're learning, but that's how they assimilate information, is by speaking, by repeating, by talking. So if you are verbal, you remember written and spoken information, you enjoy reading and writing, you like to debate, you like to talk, you like to give persuasive speeches, you are able to explain things well, you like to use humor when you're doing things. So a lot of that has to do with the spoken word. And again, a lot of that are our talkers on the risers. So when you put an oral learner next to a verbal linguistic learner, the oral learner gets distracted by how much the person next to them is talking. But the verbal learner is talking because that's how they learn. It took a long time for me to understand that, because I am not a verbal learner. And I find verbal learners distracting a lot of times to me when I'm trying to concentrate. But the more I understood, oh, verbal learners are learning that way, the more that helped me not just get annoyed to the person next to me who's talking all the time. So that understanding really helped. Logical or mathematical learners, they prefer using logic, reasoning, and systems when they're assimilating new material. So they not only need to know what they're learning, but they need to know why they're learning it and what's the background. Why is this a good practice? Why are we doing this? They have excellent problem-solving skills. They enjoy thinking about abstract ideas, conducting scientific experiences, solving complex problems. They're the people who want to know why and how things work. And there's some of my favorite people on the risers because they challenge me as an educator, that I know that I can't just say, hey, we're going to try this new technique. I need to know why it works and physiologically what it's doing with all of the mechanics of voice. And I need to be able to explain that. So mathematical learners make me a better educator, a better music educator, because I know that I'm going to have to answer questions about those things. Physical or kinesthetic learners, they like using their body, hands, sense of touch when they're assimilating new material. You may be skilled at dancing and sports, enjoy creating things with your hands, have great physical coordination, and you remember by doing rather than hearing or seeing. So I can tell this person something all day long, but until they try it, until they do it, it's not going to be as understood. Oh, let's talk about the social learner. So the social learner many times goes right along with the verbal learner, but not always. So you are a social learner if you learn well in groups with other people. So you are the person that when you were at school and the teacher said, hey, we're going to do a group project, you were like, yay, I get to work with my friends. It's going to be great. I love group projects. You communicate well verbally, also non-verbally, and also social learners tend to be able to see situations from different perspectives and create positive relationships with others. They're good conflict resolvers, good peacemakers a lot of times, because that positive social circle is very important to their learning. So social learners also tend to talk a lot because they're connecting with people around them on the risers. That's how they learn best, is being in that sense of community. And then you have the solitary or intrapersonal learner. So they are the ones that when the teacher said, hey, we're going to do a group project, they were like, really? Can I just do this by myself, please? Because I know it's going to get done. And I'm going to say right now, I tend to be a solitary learner. I really just like doing the thing myself. You prefer to work alone and you self-study when assimilating new material. So you tend to analyze your own strengths and weaknesses really well. You enjoy analyzing theories and ideas. You have really good self-awareness and understand the basis for your own motivations and feelings. So those are our learning styles. And I'm sure you can think already about different ways that your riser mates and your fellow administrative people work within these learning styles and how you do. So I'm going to stop sharing again for just a second. Because I'm curious. Okay, so how many of you definitely saw yourself somewhere in those 7 intelligences? Yay. How many of you definitely know you are more than one of those for sure? Excellent. Did any of you think, I've had people talk about as they work within this, that they also find that they might use a different learning intelligence depending on their where they are. Like I may be different at work than I am at chorus, or I may be different in this setting than that setting. Does anyone, yes, I see nods already that you're feeling that as well. Excellent. So we're going to think about these in context of what happens on the risers, what happens when you're directing a rehearsal, and then what happens in meetings as well. So I'm going to go back to that. I always find this so fascinating. It's so interesting to me. So let's look at riser and rehearsal habits when we talk about this. So like we said, every singer likely favors more than one learning style. And so now I'm thinking about it in the context of what can I do as a leader to accommodate people in their different learning styles. All right, so I'm being mindful of every singer. Now, keeping in mind, there is no way that I can run one section of rehearsal and touch every single learner. So I'm just trying to be as inclusive as I can be with as many learning styles as I can. So for visual, obviously, the learner needs sheet music. They need to be able to look at something. A lot of times I will also mark stuff on sheet music and post that on our website. So, hey, we have a new breathing plan. I'm going to mark that for you, even though you've probably already done it. So you have that visual right there. Visual reminders, charts and graphs, illustrations, video or visual expression. So how does that look? So the learner will be someone who takes notes. They're going to be the one who's always writing on their music. And so that's why I've been a little more lenient. In the past, I've been like, okay, you all should be off the music, so you should not have your music on the risers right now. But the fact is, the visual learner may be off their music and still like want to make a note. Like, okay, Jen just said we're going to crescendo here. I want to mark that on my music right now. And so being more aware that the visual learner needs to have access to that music right then is an important thing. Visual examples of best practices. Like I can talk about vocal fold closure a lot, but if I show a video of what that looks like, my visual learners are going to get a much better idea of what that is and how that works. So really bringing in more of that. And so some of the tools we've used in the past, I'm just going to talk about briefly. We've used, so for instance, there was a time when I was trying to get my chorus just to match our vowels in general. And what would happen was that we'd sing a song and then I'd stop and go, okay, y'all, we did not match that ah vowel. We've just talked about that. And then I'll talk about it for 5 minutes and then we do it again. Not always super helpful. So I made a chart that had like, had all the vowels on them written out phonetically, AH for ah. And then when they were singing and they're singing like the word night, I would just point to the ah. And everyone was like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing right there. And it just was so helpful and didn't make me stop and try to explain it like every 5 seconds. And it just really, that visual tool really helped. We do things like in coaching. If someone learned something like, what was your aha moment? We have one of those, you remember those trifolds, cardboard things you use for a science fair? We would have one of those where people would just write on it. This is what I learned. This is what I learned. And then we keep it up in rehearsal time so that they can go back to it and say, oh yeah, that's right. We learned this, or I remember this. We do have a projector and a screen that hooks up to my iPad because there are times when I'm trying to explain what's on the music and it's easier just to show them like, okay, here's the piece of music I'm talking about. See where the basses are, see what's happening with these notes, as opposed to trying to make them look on their own music and try to figure it out. So that's been super helpful. And, you know, also for showing videos, all of those things. We've looked at, we've listened to different choruses and talked about what level they're on and why. And also just modeling things like if I'm talking about alignment, I need to be able to model that alignment so they can see what it looks like. So all of those things help. And of course, right now I'm talking about it in a rehearsal part. We'll talk about it in what it looks like in meetings as well with admin. All right, so those are all the things that help with our, with our visual learners. So for oral learners, obviously they need learning tracks. They need audio examples. So this is a time where I may say, hey, this is how I want interp on this particular part of the ballad, and I sing it for them several times so they can hear it and not just me describing it. Inspirational speech, just do that on a regular basis. Be inspiring, but they do respond well to praise that is specific, things that inspire them. Video, again, or recorded examples really help with our oral learners. And they seek out audio examples, learning new techniques. They listen to those, they listen to musical leadership, they listen to each other. They are most likely, if there's something that doesn't sound right on the risers, they hear it and it affects them. And sometimes they'll point it out to you. Something over here doesn't sound right. But that's because it's something that impacts them in a greater way than, say, maybe a visual learner at times. And so a lot of what I do, so oral tools are great. Like I do half and half singing. So if I'm teaching a new technique and I want people to hear the difference, I'll have half the chorus, sing it one way, and then use the new technique, and then have the other half so that people can actually hear the difference. I do the same thing. I've started doing one night a month where it's just me working with individual sections, not the entire chorus, but other people come in and listen so they can hear the difference and hear what's happening within those sections. Obviously, any kind of audio recording that helps with them, learning tracks, of course. And we also discovered that, especially for our oral learners, that it helps to make sure that, especially for newer members, that they know what all the terms mean. Because if they're up against an oral speed bump of a term that they don't recognize, that's going to pull them out for a while until they can figure out what that is. So just making sure that our oral learners and everyone else know all the terms. They know what ringing a chord means. They know what I mean when I say vocal fold closure, all of that stuff, so that they don't stub their toe on those oral distractions. For the verbal learner, this person needs time to talk. Because if you don't give them time to talk, they're going to find time to talk. And then they get shushed and it gets all this stuff. So it's funny, as I was looking over this class and preparing for today, I realized I have kind of fallen down on this a little bit and I need to get back into it. And that it can be as simple as, after we finish a performance of a song, for me to say, hey, talk to someone near you, tell them 3 things you did great and 1 thing you think you could do better. And just giving them that time, it doesn't always follow exactly the parameters I give them, but it gives them a chance to talk about their learning and to share it. So they need time to express it in their own words. They need verbal processing time. They need collaboration with others. Sometimes they need to talk to me about stuff. They need all of that. So they engage in verbal processing on the risers, especially when it's a new technique. They try to go, oh, that felt interesting. And oh, I felt this and that. They need time to verbally process that. And so they need time to be encouraged to express it in their own words, either with a partner or out loud when called on. I try to do more of that as well. So we have verbal processing time, and I just put a hand up in the air when we're done. And when they see me, they raise their hand and they stop talking. Sometimes they raise their hand and keep talking. I'm like, that doesn't really work, y'all. When you see me and it's time, you got to raise your hand and stop talking. Sometimes and this is just a fun thing to do, a 1-word exercise where I'm like, on the count of 3, everyone say a word that they felt during that performance. And we all say it at the same time, and it's chaos, but they're able to get something out there. The recording, you know what? I don't know why I have constant recording in there. I should have checked that. I'll come back to that if I remember why I have that in there. Office hours are important because not only do they need to verbally express their learning with their riser mates, they need to talk to leadership. They need that time of connection through talking. And then also like social media type stuff is really great for them to, even though it's not verbalizing, they're still able to get what they need out there and to be able to express things outwardly, basically is what they need to do. So that's our verbal processing people. And I find that this has been great for understanding too, that the oral processor realizes, okay, this verbal processing is really bothering me, but they need that. And it helps the verbal processor get that stuff out. The physical kinesthetic learner. Okay, so they need physical examples, not just we're doing this, but when we achieve vocal fold closure, it feels like this. We're going to use this kinesthetic to like we do this thing called chivot, which is really fun, but it helps minimize over pronouncing things with the jaw. We're going to try that so you can see how it feels and then take it away. They need physical exercises. Kinesthetic movements to reinforce skills are what physical kinesthetic learners need. Sometimes they need to walk around and get off the risers a little bit. And as long as they're engaged, I'm fine with that. You can walk around behind the risers or around the sides. That's peachy keen. If you need to move some more. They're the people who might rock back and forth in front of the risers, which really bothers visual learners sometimes. It's like, oh my gosh, this person rocking in front of me is visually distracting me right now. But again, it's understanding the needs of all of these learners that help us coexist on the risers. So providing kinesthetic aids to and demonstrating those to help people know what it feels like. Exploring all those kinesthetic tools regularly during personal rehearsal time. So making sure a lot of times having a video that's saying, okay, here's how we do this kinesthetic, or here's how this, you know, you can put your hands here to feel where your larynx is and if it's in the right position, that kind of thing. And then the tools, like again, using those kinesthetic movements, letting people move around if they need to, having that physical warm-up time to get them engaged with their whole body as an instrument. Using choreography that enhances the musical product that goes along with the lyrical and emotional intent of the song. Because a lot of times kinesthetic movers aren't just moving to move. It has to have meaning and connection to the music in order for that to help them learn better. A lot of times, if the choreography enhances the music, it actually helps them learn their music faster because it has meaning with the music. And then sometimes they just need to snap or clap or stomp or do something that is a little more. So sometimes we'll just have a time where like, hey, we're all just going to snap to this music. We're going to move around a little bit. We're going to stomp. We're going to walk in a circle. All of those things can help that kinesthetic learner. Right. Then we have our logical mathematical learner. This learner needs to know why. They need to know why it works. Has anyone else tried it and it has worked? Has it been researched? Why does it work? How does it physiologically work? All of those things. They need time to ask questions for sure. But I make sure it's a concentrated question time because they're such enthusiastic learners that it will turn into a 10-minute conversation about why this works and how cool it is, which is awesome. And I love the enthusiasm, but I don't have time in rehearsal to spend, you know, so we do concentrated question time and then, you know, more time if needed. I have an awesome logical mathematical learner on my music team, and she just sent me an email that is probably 6 paragraphs long about why we shouldn't pick this contest piece. And it's fantastic and well thought out. And I love it. Like, I love logical learners make me a better educator and learner. So they need, but they also need time to process things. So I find that my mathematical learners, my logical learners, don't just blindly accept what I tell them. Like they need time to process and to think about it and to make sure it's working for them. So I expect some skepticism sometimes from my learners, or just like, hey, I need time to process this. And that is fine. but I know that that's the case. So again, for learning, they need to know why along with the how. They will a lot of times independently research stuff and bring stuff to me, which is awesome. Like, hey, I just found this really cool video on YouTube that explains why vocal fold closure is the best way to get this particular sound. It's awesome. I love having these members. So leadership, when we are presenting something or leading something, we need a lot of background knowledge to answer questions that may be asked by these learners. A lot of times charts, graphs, data will especially be helpful for these learners to show, yes, this is why this works and how. A designated time just to ask questions and clarify. They need processing time to accept new skills. And then if I have anything that supports what I'm sharing, I will share that. I have something called a Padlet, which I put stuff on, which I'll talk about later. But I will share that there so they can look at it on their own time and understand that. Great learners. I'm going to take a very quick check at our chat box. Oh, these are great. I love, okay, so I'm sorry. I know people who, if this is recorded, they can't read the comments. These are just, there are a lot of interesting comments from our people in here right now saying, oh, this is what I do. This makes sense. Oh, this is why this works for me. Love that conversation. So let's talk about the social learner. Social learner needs time to connect with their fellow learners. So this is part of the reason, because I'm going to be the first person to admit I am not good at providing social time for my members. I want to work on the music. So luckily I have people around me who are very strong and say, look, we need social time. We need time to connect. And they're absolutely right, because a lot of times a social learner, if they don't feel connected to the people around them, it's very difficult for them to learn. They need to feel that connection. They need time to collaborate with other people. They need social events. They need to know people. They need to connect to leadership and the larger whole on a social level. So learning, having social events that are scheduled and promoted on a regular basis, getting to know you activities. They seek out collaboration time. So again, that's why a lot of times social and verbal learners tend to overlap quite a bit, because they tend to talk to other people and collaborate and connect that way. So during, they learn well, like if you have a hot seat time where you're like, oh, we're just going to put someone on the hot seat, we can ask them questions about themselves. So we learn more about them. Good news sharing time. They do well too with like quartet and ensemble singing, because again, they like being a part of that connected group. They need social time before or after rehearsal, icebreakers, all of that good stuff that allows them to connect to those around you. And then, of course, then we have the opposite learner from social, and that's solitary. So I feel like sometimes solitary learners are misunderstood because they're perceived as not wanting to be a part of the group or being standoffish or quiet. And they definitely feel a part of the group, but they learn better on their own. So they need internal processing time, something else I need to be good at as well. So we have the external processing time where I say, hey, talk to the person next to you and tell them blah, blah, blah. Also taking time after a song to say, don't talk to anyone, just process with yourself. What are 3 things you did great? 1 thing you want to improve, just process it to yourself. Man, it kills the verbal processors, but it's good for them to practice that skill as well. They're like, I can't tell anyone. Can I tell someone, please? But it's really good for the solitary learner just to have some internal processing time. Sometimes they need space. They might get peopled out a little bit, especially when they're trying to learn things. So they might need a little space to learn. They need permission not to go to social things sometimes. They need permission to take their own time and their own way to learn things. And they need ways to learn outside of rehearsal. So you'll find the solitary learner If you give an assignment like we should be off paper next week, they will come ready to go because that's how they learn best, is on their own. They've got it, they're ready to go. So silent processing time after techniques are improved, providing a lot of learning tools that are external on the website or social media or Padlet to process and learn. And like I said, silent processing time, online learning terms, they do great with PVIs because they're very self-aware of the things they want to work on and improve individually. A lot of times meditation, visualization works well. Sometimes we do that before a contest. We just visualize the pattern because it really helps everyone kind of connect, but especially my solitary learners. And they will absolutely connect with members, and they will absolutely be social as well. It's just when we're learning things, a lot of times they need that solitary time, but they will connect in a variety of ways. All right, so I'm going to stop again for a second. So as we're talking about this, do you just see behaviors you recognize in yourself and your riser mates, ways that you learn? Also, do you recognize things that other learners do that may, I don't want to say annoying isn't the word, but you know what I mean, can be sometimes disruptive to your way of learning on the risers. And I hope this builds a better understanding of why people are engaging in certain behaviors on risers and how they learn. Like, to me, that was because I sing with Song of Atlanta Chorus, which I love, and I have an absolute verbal learner next to me. I love her. We get along great, but we are totally different learners. And this has really helped me navigate my time on the risers better in understanding the way she learns. So I hope that helps you as well. Now we're going to talk about behaviors that happen on the risers and maybe during meetings and administration type stuff and how that might affect us as we coexist in those ways as well. I just like seeing your faces, me being the visual person I am. It's like, I just want to see how y'all are doing. All right. Oh, hold please. Turn off camera. Okay. So now let's talk about getting along. So getting along, learning together, knowledge of everyone's learning styles will help us realize what's going on in the risers and in meetings. And especially when we communicate these styles to each other, it helps us support and understand our fellow singers. For instance, I think I have a little bit of a kinesthetic learner in me because I'm so not an oral learner that when I'm in a lecture, it helps for me to draw or write or do something else that helps me focus in better. And a lot of times I will tell people around me, hey, it's not that I'm not paying attention. This is just how I learn better. So communicating that really helps. Sometimes if I know the person who's facilitating, I'll tell them so they know that I'm not just like, I'm paying attention to you, but I also have to do this. So visual and rehearsal, they will look at their music often. They'll need clarification if the sheet music doesn't match what's going on in the performance. They will draw attention to visual discrepancies, often on sheet music, but in other ways as well. And during like warm-ups and tag singing, they may ask for music during that time as well, even though if we're learning by ear, they may ask for that music. In meetings, they may need a written agenda, something that they can follow and look at. They may ask for charts, written directions, notes. If you're sharing data, they want to see the data in a pie chart or a bar chart. They want to see these things. They may be distracted, I'm speaking of myself, by inconsistent formatting. So if one part is in one font and one's in another font, I'm going to get distracted by that. Or if they forgot a bullet point, or if everything's capitalized except one bullet point, that will distract me visually. That just happens. Even going through this presentation, I've been through it many times, fixing the formatting. I know there's something that's going to distract me. And they also may be very willing to work on graphic projects like flyers. See, I'm missing a parentheses. That bothers me. Working on flyers, They may, like if you have a survey, they may want to make some charts and graphs out of that. Like they may be very willing to work on visual projects as well. Although the way we learn doesn't always determine our outward talents, but that's something, it may even be like they would say, hey, I would like to proofread everything that comes out because I will notice those discrepancies. I'm going to fix that parentheses later. For oral learners in rehearsal, they're going to say, hey, the learning track doesn't match this, and can we fix it, please? Please. They may sing or hum along when other, like if I'm working with one section, I always have this lead that likes to hum along because they're so oral and they want to hear how their part sounds against the other section, and I have to say, please stop for now. They will definitely hear singing errors around them, and they may point them out. They may be overwhelmed by multiple sound sources. So for instance, I've been in coachings before where we've had more than one coach. And when they talk at the same time or they're bouncing off each other, that can be hard for my oral learners because they're having to listen to two different sound sources and assimilate that knowledge at the same time. Or it may be something as simple as, oh my gosh, if that drinking fountain does not stop buzzing, I am going to lose it because it's in the wrong key and it's driving me crazy. So those things can really bother an oral learner. And they may need someone to sing notes for them, especially after we change something. So if I change something on the music, the visual learner is going to write it on their music and the oral learner needs to hear it. They need to hear it sung multiple times. In meetings, they may ask for the meeting to be recorded so they can go back and listen through it again and learn through that. They may ask for words to be more clearly defined or, ask about more vocabulary things. They will also find non-essential sounds distracting. So for instance, if I have my kinesthetic learner who really needs to tap a pencil somewhere, that is going to drive the oral learner crazy. So finding ways for the kinesthetic person to move and tap things while not distracting the oral learner is a thing. They may ask for ideas to be restated, to use different words or repeated in a different way so that they can further understand it within their learning style. Verbal linguistic learners, obviously in rehearsal, they're going to talk, they're going to repeat directions to themselves. They might mumble or whisper to themselves to get that. They might talk out loud while making note of changes. They may read lyrics or musical notations out loud. If you go on a road trip with a verbal learner, they may read every road sign on the way just for fun. But in meetings, they may need to restate key ideas. They may occasionally engage in sideline conversations because, again, they're processing what's being said and talked about. They may, again, mumble or whisper to themselves. While they're taking notes, they might talk out loud while completing a task, taking notes. They may read agenda items out loud. So those are some of the behaviors we'll see. And again, some, not all. In rehearsal, obviously, physical kinesthetic, they may move or sway on the risers. They may frequently get on and off the risers. They may add physical movement to performances, or when they're learning a skill, they may add something that goes along with that. And they may stretch or change position on the risers. In meetings, they may tap pencils or pens, or pencils, tap fingers or pencils on the table. They may need stretch breaks more frequently. They may, during a meeting, like go sit somewhere else or lean against something or walk around a little bit during the meeting. Also use hand gestures when making a point, like I'm doing right now. So kinesthetic, again, in meetings needs some of that time to change body position, do what they're doing. For logical mathematical learners, they're obviously going to ask a lot of clarifying questions. They may occasionally challenge authority, but they're not doing it to challenge authority. They're just doing it to say, hey, how do we know this works? Why are you telling us this? What, it comes across as a challenge when it may not be, but especially when learning something new. They're going to verbalize their acquired knowledge as well. So they're going to say, oh yeah, I learned this about this. And when you said this, it made me think of this. Like they're putting things together, and they're going to question new skills just because they think through things like that. So the same thing in meetings, they'll ask a lot of clarifying questions. Sometimes they can unintentionally dominate a discussion, and that's because they have all this knowledge that they want to share or find out about something. And so sometimes the logical learner can get in the weeds a little bit because they're just so enthusiastic about what is being discussed. And so sometimes need to be brought back in. A lot of times they will play devil's advocate because they're thinking through all the possibilities of something, because that's what they do. They think through everything with that. And sometimes they can be slower to accept change. Not always, but sometimes. Just because they have to think through and process everything. Our social interpersonal person, obviously on the risers, they may talk about non-music related issues on the risers because they really just want to know how so-and-so's new grandbaby is doing. And they've got to connect with them, knowing, or tell me about your new puppy. They will definitely like to take over social activities, and that they like to plan them and join them and think of fun things for people to do. They a lot of times they just have a lot of humor. They speak out often. Sometimes again, it has nothing to do with the music. They like to make a joke or point out something that's fun that's happening during rehearsal. In meetings, sometimes they may talk about items not on the agenda because, again, they're trying to connect socially with the people around them and engage in sideline conversations. They will bring humor to any meeting, which is wonderful and welcome. And a lot of times they're really good at taking on the role of peacemaker or mediator, because that social network is important to their learning, and they're just good at, they know a lot about people's emotions and feelings because they've taken the time to learn about people socially. And then solitary interpersonal learners, like, again, they might present as quiet or hard to read sometimes, but that's because they're absorbing information and they need to do it quietly. A lot of times they will stay out of riser conversations because they want to engage internally on what's going on. They can seem disengaged when they are not disengaged. They're just, again, processing internally. In meetings, sometimes they require time to respond to things because they are internally processing. So sometimes their voices cannot be heard as often as other voices, and they need time to respond to things. They will observe and absorb information. They stay very focused on the task at hand, and they may multitask in that while they're absorbing information internally, they may be making notes to themselves. They may be using things that will help them learn internally. And so then I have the little what next. Leaders, we can know our own habits. So we can know what our learning styles are, and then how to make room in what we do to accommodate other learning styles. For instance, I've shared that I'm not really good at making social time during rehearsal, but I have people who can take 5 minutes and get the whole chorus connecting and laughing with each other. So I use those people because that's not my strength. And just incorporating as many tools as you can without things just going all over the place to make sure you're accommodating every learning style. And then communicating with everyone. Also making sure that, as you know, encourage members to find their own learning styles, but keeping in mind too that awareness of learning styles shouldn't be, well, she didn't use anything visual, so I'm going to disconnect because I can't learn without visual. But saying, okay, this doesn't have a visual component. How can I accommodate that and learn in a different way? So helping that to be more of a positive mindset rather than a closed down mindset of learning those learning styles. And then I've got different resources in here. I will share this with the RMT. There are some quizzes that can help you learn your learning styles, although when you describe them, most everyone knows what they are already. There are different videos that can help with that and some other resources, but I will just share that with the RMT and they can share that with you all. I'm going to stop my share. Any question? Oh, sorry. Hold on. I've got to get rid of my video on here. There we go. Any questions or observations about this?
This is so tremendously helpful, Jen. It's an awareness, and it gives us a much broader understanding of, what's going on, and, why people do what they do.
I'm so glad to hear that, Becky.
Great class.
Oh,
I got
thanks.
a lot out of it.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's actually one of my favorite ones to teach, honestly, because I learned so much from it. Thank you.
I was just noticing that it's like a process for me because I'm gonna be the solitary one. Let me take the new music, and then I'm going to listen and with my music because I'm kind of both auditory and visual, and then
Yes.
I'm gonna bring that out to more of a social, let's, interact about it.
Oh, that's so interesting. So you kind of move through the spectrum a little bit.
Yep.
That's wild. I love that.
Jen, I have a question for you about if you're not a verbal learner, but you may be surrounded by them on the risers, can they still learn without you interacting with them? If you kind of just are, right?
Yes, I
Okay.
think especially when I've communicated that with and I've said to my riser man, I said, sometimes I'm not going to be able to talk to you because I have to process. And um if there are social learners all around me and I'm solitary, I just let them know that, like, I'll say, when you all are talking, connecting, and I'm not, it's not because I don't love you all and I'm not friends. This is the way I learn, and we'll connect socially in another way at another time.
And I'm not impeding their learning by like turning them off.
I don't think so. I mean, a lot of it really is just about open communication and making sure you understand. But no, I would say not, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
That's a great question, Eve. Appreciate that.
I would just say I love that because I get so frustrated with all the talking on the risers around, and it's like it'll give me more patience now and a more understanding as to why that may be happening, and just like take a deep breath. it'll go away.
I feel that, Susan. And I think it has helped that I as a director, I have designated some talking times. And so that enables my verbal learners then to have time not to talk too. So it just doesn't become a constant, because finding those parameters that allow those things to happen, but also allow for other, but I agree. Talking on the risers is hard for me. Anyone else? These are great comments. Yeah, Jen.
Yeah, one thing I want to mention is that I've always thought about, as the director, me understanding what's happening on the risers. But someone in the comments said something about knowing what your director's style is.
Yes.
And I thought that was very interesting, because I'm definitely more, I think I'm a mix, but definitely, visual, verbal, social. And, some people on the risers, I'll sometimes say, well, I'm not everybody's, piece of cake. Like not everyone's gonna love me because I am more talkative. And so it was interesting to see, well, what are they doing to deal with me?
Yes, exactly.
And there has to be a balance. It's probably good to mention that if you're having an interaction with someone that you may be having some difficulty with, well, maybe they need to know where that part of you. So very interesting.
Exactly. Yes. And knowledge will not keep you from being annoyed by people occasionally, because that's just going to happen, right? But it will help us have a deeper understanding of how to accommodate and communicate and coexist in that place. Excellent, friends. All right. Are you all doing well? Because we got one more. Okay, cool. This absolutely leads into what we're going to talk about with chorus culture in general. We're going to talk about a lot of different aspects of what feeds into chorus culture and some ideas for that. And then what I'm going to say, if it's okay with Alicia, because we talked about this, I do have some specific tools I can demonstrate, but probably would be like at noon if people wanted to stay slightly later. I don't know. If we can't do that, it's okay. I can just share them with you all.
I think it's fine if anybody who can stay, and then we'll keep recording and people can watch later if they need to leave at noon.
Perfect.
That'll
Perfect.
work. I do have one quick plug, just if you're loving today, which I am, Jen's amazing and giving us some great things. There's also that donation link there if anybody is willing to give a donation. It just helps bring more future education to all of us in the future. So that's all I had to say. Keep going. It sounds great.
Thank you. Thanks, Alicia. Awesome. Okay, so we'll plan on that. But again, if you can't stay to look at specific tools, I'm going to share everything with the RMT, and they're so good at communicating. That's not gonna. All right, let me grab. Hold, please. There it is. Okay, friends. I say friends a lot because I am an elementary school teacher. Let me grab this. We're just gonna, it's called chorus growth, but it's basically talking about chorus culture and the different things that feed into it. There we go. All right. Oop. For heaven's sake. All right, so obviously we're going to start with leadership. That's why y'all are here. It is Leadership Day. And we're just going to talk about various aspects of how we can maintain healthy leadership within our choruses. So this is a class that I actually put together for you all. So this is one I have not taught before. So if something goes awry, that will be why. I'm sure it won't though. So there, obviously you ask any given person what makes healthy leadership, and they're going to give you all sorts of different answers. But I kind of pulled from what I have seen in healthy leadership and choruses, what I've experienced myself, and especially the mistakes that I've made as a leader, which have been quite a few, to kind of bring that in there. So healthy leadership, basically we want to make sure everyone in our chorus feels valued, safe, and empowered to contribute their best, whatever that is. So that a lot of that has to do with just building relationships, building strong, healthy relationships. Also prioritizing team well-being. So I say to myself, I know this about myself, I enjoy being around people. I enjoy building relationships with people. I love going to a regional event and just talking to everyone I can. And then I also know that I need time to myself to decompress from all of that. And so knowing that enables me to build healthy relationships, but also prioritize my own well-being to make sure that I am at a place where I can effectively be a leader and build those relationships. A lot of it also is just developing personal growth and development, developing ourselves as leaders, mentors, all of those things, making sure there's a positive and inclusive culture in the chorus, in the admin teams, in the music, in every aspect of what we do. And then, of course, continuous improvement, which goes along with personal growth and development. I have never in my life reached a point where I've been like, okay, I am the ultimate leader. I have nothing else to learn. Off I go. And that's obviously, as an educator, one thing I really love about barbershop music is we never get to a point where we're like, okay, I have mastered barbershop music. I have nothing more to learn. So that continuous improvement is so important. So when we look at building relationships, all right, so I have discuss and share, but time constraints, feel free to put some things in the chat box that you think about it for yourself as a leader. So one of those things is open communication. Sometimes open communication can be scary for a leader, quite honestly, because really, I just want all my people to like me. I would really like, I have no problem saying that. I really would like for every member in the chorus to like me. And I also know that that is an impossible quest because I am going to do something as a leader that someone in my chorus is not going to like. So open communication is important. And I talk about surveys, check-ins, town hall meetings where I just sit down and talk to the chorus. My chorus just recently made a big decision that I can't talk about what the decision is, but we had time where I shared what my vision was. I had time for them to fill in surveys, to ask questions. We sat down and talked about it again. But it's especially important to foster a community where someone can disagree and feel safe in disagreeing. And that is a hard thing to do because many times your members want to please you. And it is hard for them. They don't want to be looked upon as a naysayer or a whiner or whatever. But there has to be a way for people to share things that they disagree with something. And a lot of that is when someone shares something out loud saying, thank you so much for saying that. I'm so glad you expressed that you're not completely on board with this. And let's talk about that. Or, you know, if we can't talk about it in the moment, I want to talk to you about this later because it's important that we bring that out. So making sure that people feel safe to disagree with you. Having feedback, also giving feedback that is constructive, both constructive and positive. So you have to be able to receive feedback and give feedback. That could be something like, hey, you know, we've got this show coming up. We're really excited about it, but our ticket sales aren't where we expected them to be at this point. What can we do to help mitigate that situation? So sharing the constructive feedback and the positive and making sure that both are specific. Sometimes we tend to be general in our positive, our praise, and specific in our criticisms. And guess what people take away then? It's the criticism. So instead of saying, hey, you're doing great, I can say, hey, I love the way the basses came out on that part. And oh, Lead, you were so expressive when you went up to this. Very positive in whether it's me directing or in the admin saying, oh, I love the way that you spoke up and really restated that issue in a way that we can all understand. So everything needs to be specific when we give feedback. Always modeling professionalism. So I have made this mistake more than once in my past. Directing, leading is hard, and sometimes people just hit your nerves wrong. And I definitely made the mistake early on of venting to other people in my chorus. Huge mistake, y'all, because when I vent to other people in my chorus, it is going to get back around to whoever I'm venting about or whatever I'm venting about. And oftentimes I just need to vent and then have it done. But then it turns into a problem. So now my husband, Chris, gets to be my listening when I need to vent. Bless him for being willing to do that. Venting outside of the chorus sphere is really important. And then if it is a problem that persists, I am still mad about this, then I have to directly talk to that person and say, hey, this was an issue. I want to talk to you about it because I didn't feel heard. It hit me the wrong way. I may have misunderstood what you were saying, whatever it is. So especially dealing with things that are difficult, make sure you have a vent that is not a part of the chorus. And then make sure if it continues that you model professionalism by communicating, because the more you communicate that, the more that's likely to come back to you. I would much rather have someone bring a problem to me than to talk about it in the parking lot after chorus with a bunch of people. But I have to model that as well. Not easy, especially me, because I want people to like me. So finding that is really, really important. And then active listening, making sure that when I'm on, I am on. I am listening to people. And in doing that, I've had to set some boundaries for myself in that for some, and I think it's because I'm a long distance director, people usually want to grab me right before rehearsal to tell me something that is I don't like my place on the risers. I'm having a hard time learning this music. I'm really having trouble with my listener. And so I've had to set this boundary of, look, I really want to be able to attend to your issue, and I cannot do it right before rehearsal because I have to concentrate on what I'm doing for rehearsal. But let's talk. You remember, you can sign up for my office hours, sign up for a time, we'll talk, we'll get this done. So also making sure that you are providing opportunities for active listening by setting whatever boundary you need to make sure that you can totally attend to whatever is being expressed. So, of course, I'm speaking about all of this from a director perspective, but I know you can think of times as a team leader or a membership coordinator when, oh my gosh, if I'm so mad about what happened in this team meeting and I got to talk to someone about it, don't talk to the person who sits next to you at the team meeting. Vent to someone outside and then deal with that. All of us as leaders have to model the behavior we want to see in our members, because it really does come top down. I've been working in a situation where our leadership, this is in a different situation outside of Sweet Adeline's, outside of barbershop, where our leaders cannot understand why there's such a poor culture going wrong right now. But then they spend a lot of time just talking, gossiping about other people to themselves, and they can't understand why we don't have a good culture outside of that. And the fact is, that will always, even if it's behind closed doors, it's going to influence the culture of what we do. So then we look at team well-being. So burnout. So I'm going to say right now, I'm a very bad delegator, my friends. I really am. I try to be a good delegator. I'm working on it. But delegation is tricky. And I'm going to talk about, is this what I'm going to talk about? I'm going to talk about it now because we may come back to it later. So I'm going to talk about delegation real quickly, because this is an important thing and has caused communication issues in the past. So I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to share one more thing with you. So when we delegate, it is important to make it manageable, but it's also important that people know exactly what's happening with delegation. One of the big issues I had once with one of my show chairs is that she thought she was on one level of delegation and I thought she was on another level of delegation. And because of that, we had constant communication issues. So there's delegation level 1, and delegation level 1 is just like, I have this exact thing that I want done this exact way, and I want you to do it. But I want you to do it exactly the way I'm telling you to do it. Don't deviate from that. So that is delegation 1. And that's just when you need something done, but you don't have time to do it, and you know someone else is able to do that. Level 2 is a kind of a research thing. Like, I want to do this, but I need research behind it. Can you research something and bring it back to me? Can you gather information? Feel free. You're just going to tell me all the stuff about this thing so that I can review the information and make the decision. So I'm still the decision maker as the leader, but this person is helping with the research part of it. In level 3, someone may conduct research and make recommendations. So they become part of the decision-making process. They say, hey, I've researched this. This may be a good way to go. Or maybe you want to know, or here are some pros and cons, and I'm going to make you some recommendations. Leader is still the decision maker, but they're going to consider the recommendations made by that person. Level 4 is make a decision, but keep me in the loop. So this transfers decision-making to the person who's receiving the delegation. But they have to keep me, apprised every step of the way. So everything that happens, I'm CC'd in, I need to know what's going on, I'm included in everything. And then level 5 is have at it. You are in charge of this project, you make decisions, you have complete control over it. I trust you, you just do your thing. And we've done that with our community performances. My 2 assistant directors have delegation level 5. They decide the costuming, they decide what's sung, they do all the communication, they have complete control over it. I have released that. And it's great. I don't know why I do it more often. It's wonderful when I'm able to release that control and trust someone to do it. But a lot of communication and leadership issues can happen when those levels aren't communicated. For instance, I thought my show chair was a level 3,
or level 4, where she's keeping me apprised of everything, but she thought she was a level 5. She could just go do stuff and then I would find out about it later. And because of that, we had a hard time because we were coming at it from different, and I didn't even know about levels of delegation at that point. So I didn't even know what the problem was. I just knew that she was making decisions and she wasn't keeping me in the loop, and I didn't understand why. So that kind of communication is really important to foster, because then what happens, first of all, you can stair step people into delegation. You can start out with, do this project. I'm making all the parameters and decision making, but you're going to do this project. And oh, they did that really well. I'm going to try a different level of delegation with them now with something else. And that's how you start to build leaders. You build a trust so that they have the support and they have a success, and you've built trust in them and also demonstrated trust in them. They eventually get to the point where they don't need you anymore. They're just going to do the task and you don't even have to worry about it. But that allows you to build that in. All right, I'm going to go back to, oh, there it is. Stop by video doesn't change place at any point, and yet I keep having to search for it. Okay, so delegation, obviously, really important as far as self-care is concerned. And also finding that. Also, finding ways to delegate smaller portions of jobs will really help people start to want to get into leadership. Like if I say, take over our social media account. What? No, I can't do that. If I say, hey, could you be on a team where you do a social media post once a month? Yeah, I can do that. I can do once a month thing. So it's finding those manageable chunks also, so that people really want to be a part of leadership and start to, and once they start to do a little bit, then they're like, oh, maybe I can do a little more. Oh, you know what? This doesn't take too long. I bet I can add on to that. So bringing that in so that, again, only leadership does all the jobs is not ideal. Now, I realize when you have a smaller chorus, like everyone's in, like everyone has to do that. So it's really finding ways to make sure we can balance things so that every member can have some sort of buy-in into that. I already talked about setting boundaries, making sure that you are able to do your job well by knowing how you work the best. And then finding support, like mentorship, having buddies, making sure that if a job if someone new needs to come in a job, that they have time to shadow that position so they know exactly what's going on. And then, of course, celebrating all of these achievements, celebrating the things you do well. Hey, I delegated this. They may not have done it exactly the way I would have done it, but they were successful. Let's celebrate that. Let's make sure that they're feeling valued and supported. When we go to personal growth and development, and again, everything that we model comes into the chorus as well. So making sure that your team is having some sort of continuing education. A lot of times we bring in people from the faculty, regional faculty or whatever, to help us musically, but they can also work with us administratively. Can they help us with goal setting? Can they come in and just talk about how our team works together and what we can do to build more rapport? Can they help us develop more skills in problem solving? So all of those things is making sure that no matter where we are as leaders, that we are constantly learning. I'm constantly telling my chorus, I was coached by this person, or I went to this coaching and I've learned all this stuff that I want to share with you, or I went to this, and modeling it out loud. Hey, our team just had this session with so-and-so and we've learned how to do this. And this is how you might see it manifest in what we do for the chorus. And always seeking feedback, whether it's feedback from your fellow team members, feedback from members, feedback from people on the RMT, finding ways from the outside in to make sure that we're doing what we need to do. And not being afraid to try new things with the understanding that that new thing may fail, and that's okay. At least we've tried it. The worst words we can say are, we've always done it that way, right? Not being afraid to try new things is really helpful for our chorus. Making sure that we have a positive and inclusive culture. So modeling inclusive behaviors. One thing that has worked for me that, well, is working for me that I'm really trying is just really monitoring my own language and how I communicate with the chorus. Am I using inclusive language? Am I being mindful of everyone on the risers? Am I thinking about where they're all coming from? Making sure also that there's open communication. I have several members who have felt comfortable with me saying, hey, you know, you said there was one, sorry, I digress a little bit. There was one member who came up to me and I was so glad that she did this. And she was talking about how I was communicating with another member publicly. And she said, it made me feel uncomfortable in the way you expressed yourself. And she was absolutely right. And the fact that she was able to come up to me and say that, and I said to her, I'm so glad you said that. I'm going to change my behavior. And I shared a portion with that with the chorus as well, saying, hey, I communicated in this way and I should not have, and I'm learning to be better about that. So again, modeling inclusive language, inclusive behaviors, and making sure that everyone feels safe and supported, building that culture of respect and safety and welcoming that. And then we talked already a little bit, but continuously improving, just embracing a culture of learning in general. Knowing that even if you've done this job, you finance people for like 25 years, there are ways that we can learn and grow, even if we've been doing this job for a long time. Engaging in regular self-reflection. So I have, I'm going to share this with you real quick. I have a couple of, let me find this real quick. I do talk out loud when I'm finding stuff on the computer. There are like self-assessments that we can do as leaders, and I always find them fascinating and at least helpful in directing our thinking. So this one, for instance, which I will share with your people. There it is. So this one I love because, again, it's not even necessarily the results, but the process of questions that you can ask yourself. Do you have a clear image of the organization's future direction? Do you imbue others with sense of optimism and self-confidence? Do you demonstrate willingness to take appropriate risks? Do you persevere? And then this one I like because it takes all the questions and it actually puts them in different categories of things, of your strengths and things you can work on. Like, are you good at risk? Are you good at tenacious creativity? Do you need more stamina, more optimism? So finding these kinds of tools, and of course, I'll share this with your RMT, that just engage the process of self-evaluation and asking yourself important questions about your strengths and weaknesses as a leader really can help with that. That makes a difference. And it is a continual process. Again, we have never arrived as leaders at any point. And that whole thing of being adaptable to change, collaborating a lot, talking to the people around you, talking to the people on your team, and again, always leading by example, of being aware of what you are conveying to general membership and how that affects the culture. And then here are some tools. Let me look at time. Okay, I will share these tools with your leaders and I will stay a little bit after just to show you what some of those are. I showed you one of the leadership reflection tools already, but I'll show Fist to 5. We talked about levels of delegation because I thought that was very important. Interest surveys. Sweet Adelines has a leadership portal that you can actually get on, and while quite a few of the things on there are just outdated because they came out in the time of COVID, there are actually quite a few articles that can be really helpful in growing and developing your leadership. Any questions about that or anything you feel I've left off or not talked enough about? I can kind of see you all. Okay, most of you look pensive and thoughtful. That's good. You're self-reflecting even as we speak. Fantastic. All right. So let's talk about community engagement. So now we've talked about internal leadership, building kind of that healthy culture. What do we look like? How do we deal with our community around us? Because we can exist in a bubble. Our chorus can exist in a bubble. But many times it is much more helpful to connect with the community. So community engagement looks like many things. It can be musical, can be local performances, benefit concerts. At one point, there was a tornado that came through Chattanooga, and just one high school just went right through it. So that year, our show was a benefit to the high school's music program to help get their instruments back. So those kind of things, people remember those things. And it could be as little as, hey, you know what, this course did a benefit for us, and we should really like go see their show. Or it may even be like, hey, you know, you're looking for someone to sing with, this course was awesome and they had this benefit. Like it can really be beneficial in so many different ways. Collaborating with other arts entities. So is there a local civic chorus around you? Is there a high school chorus that you could do something with? Can you collaborate with an entity that deals with a lot of arts around the community? Can you collaborate with another singing group? There are a lot of different ways to reach out to the generous art community and find ways to collaborate with them. And then something we did for a while, which had a measure of success, was called an in-school field trip. So we sent out an email to all the high school music teachers in our area and said, hey, wouldn't you love it if a group came in and took over your class for a day so you wouldn't have to teach anything, and we come in and we teach about the history of barbershop music, and we teach some tags, and they just learn about barbershop. And especially toward the end of the school year, y'all, like it was well received, because the end of the school year is difficult speaking as a teacher, and having a day where they could just have that come in, and that really helped us connect with schools. So that was a helpful thing. One thing I forgot to put on here that I did not put in any category. The other thing that we did was we became a part of the community. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the expression. All right, hold on. It'll come back to me. I'm going to stay in with what I am, and then I'll remember.
Like Chamber of Commerce or local arts organization.
Chamber of Commerce. That was it.
I got you, girl.
I know you do. Reading my mind. And the cool thing about the Chattanooga Chamber of Commerce is that every month a different member would host the meeting. So of course, when we hosted the meeting, we would sing. And we would say, hey, we're available for your business things or your school things or whatever. So that ended up being, and it was just, we would just hobnob with everyone in the community. So it was a fee, but it was worthwhile to be a part of that. Now, obviously, social engagement in the community can look like a lot of different things. You could just have an activity night where it's a game night and you invite people from the community to come in and play games, or it's a workshop where you're going to teach vocal skills and anyone from the community can sign up and come to this workshop. Doing volunteer events where you go out and volunteer to places in the community that need volunteer help with whatever it is. So there's more engagement than just musical that allows you to put roots in the community. And then, of course, online, having a regular media presence, whatever that looks like, and opportunities for engagement. I don't know if any of you are on Barbershop Music UK on Facebook, but they will, one day they'll be like, hey, change a word to make a quartet name sound silly, change one of the letters. Or what was your most embarrassing time on the risers? Like they definitely have stuff that regularly asks people to engage and comment. And if you can have reels or video media or something out there and just invite your people to teach people how to share on social media, and then invite your members to share so that you have a further reach in the online community along with your just grassroots on the ground community. So engaging outward through that really makes a difference. when you set goals for this, make sure they're manageable. Like if you're trying to reach the community like once a week, it's not going to happen. So making sure, one thing we did was for 1 year, we changed our annual show to what we called a concert series. And we had 3 times a year in our rehearsal space, we would just invite the community to come in and hear us sing. And we would have an ice cream social one night. Sometimes we do a raffle or something like that. But we had a lot more community members coming in just because it was a fun Monday night that they could come and do something and learn about us. I say choose one from each category. That's up to you, but that does help to have a further reach. Choose a musical goal, a social goal, an online goal. Start with what you do well and build on that. And again, baby steps. Don't feel like you have to do all the things all the time. And try to create a timeline. Like once every 3 months, we're going to do this. In July, we're going to do this, and just kind of set it for the year so that your members know as well, and they can be involved in these community outreach type things. And don't be afraid to step back if you have overcommitted yourself. Think about what really, really serves the community and yourself, and make sure that you're going for those things. I vividly remember doing a concert at some Chattanooga festival, and they had dogs there, and the dogs were howling while we were singing. Every time we opened our mouths, those dogs would howl. But the community remembered us. I still have people going, "Oh, you were the ones who sang with the dogs," and that totally worked. And then as we talk about financing and chorus fundraising, which can always be an issue, especially when you want to do the things you want to do. So there are more traditional ways, of course, and that's show ticket sales. But we're finding too that a lot of times we're selling tickets to the same people, which are our course's family members. So I will say that doing that concert series that 1 year really helped build our show ticket sales, because now people want to come to our annual show because they've seen that. Fundraisers, selling things, popcorn, candy, coffee, whatever it is. As long as you make that a concentrated effort and not constant, that definitely can work. I highly recommend you research whatever grants are in your area, because there are a lot of grants for the arts, and a lot of times they may say things like, you need to do a youth event. Okay, well, we can do a youth event, and we can get, if you work with youth, you can get this grant money. If you are out in the community more, you can get this grant money. So looking at grants, and not only that, but what they require, and seeing if your chorus can do that. And sponsorships work well too. For a while, we had a whole sponsorship packet where if you sponsored us, you would, we'd have a little banner that had your name on it whenever we go out and do a performance and on the show. And it turned out to be a really lovely relationship we had for a while with the public television, local public television, where the guy in charge of it was an honorary board member, but they would also do free commercials for our show. So you never know what kind of opportunity will come from doing those kinds of relationships. And then, of course, the other opportunities, offer workshops where people pay a small fee and they come and learn about their voice. Do crowdfunding on social media, but be judicious about that. We need funds for this specific thing. When you're crowdfunding, make sure it's specific and people know exactly what the money is going toward, and that you use the money exactly for what you say you're going to use the money for. There's Giving Tuesday that I know a lot of choruses use really well and are able to raise funds that way. That's an online, I can give you more information about that if you'd like to know about it. Merchandise sales. A lot of places you can commission t-shirts that have your chorus logo, and that you get the funds when they sell. You don't have to like order a bunch and then sell them, and do that kind of thing. And there's also something called Script, which you may or may not use, but that's where people can buy gift cards for things they already do, and a portion of that money comes back to the chorus. One thing that we've started doing is that 50% of whatever people spend on Script go toward their own chorus dues, And we've seen a big rise in people buying script because of that, because it benefits them as an individual member along with the chorus. So again, setting goals, consider member benefits to fundraising. Make sure that you're delegating different parts of fundraising so that that it's being managed in a way that one person may be in charge of just crowdfunding, one person may be in charge of just finding out what's going on in the community, that kind of thing. Plan the calendar of how often you're going to do these things. Keep in mind that many of these will need relationship building. So it may be a slower process as you work within the community, building those relationships. And again, always set manageable goals, always manageable. And if they're not manageable or you find they're not, pull back and find those manageable places. Oh, yay. And then of course, music. It's always about the music, right? No matter what we do and everything else, it's all about our music. So if we are building a chorus culture of growth and working through all of that, lost my word for just a second, growth and support and all of that, we need to make sure that our music is reflecting that. Now I'm going to say right now, I have tried selecting music with chorus input. And it's interesting because everyone has their very specific music tastes. So you can definitely try that. I have found it usually helps if I say, hey, I'm choosing among these 3 pieces of music, which one do you like best? Instead of tell me what you like, because it's everyone, again, even my own music team, which is much smaller, we have a terrible time just picking music. But it is important to pick a wide variety of styles and genres, not only for your own membership so that they can find the style and genre they like, but also as you're performing in the community. Like, people are going to want to hear a variety of music, and that's going to help connect you to the community and grow. Next one I have is research in big letters. Know the history of your music. Song assessment tool for Sweet Adelines is fantastic. And sometimes I just get lost in that thing because I'm so fascinated by the history of all the songs we sing. But it is very, very, very important that our songs are inclusive and that they are welcoming to all audience members and chorus members. So that requires quite a bit of research. Do it, you won't regret it at all. You're going to consider community engagement. So what songs are going to engage our community and our audience? I need songs that are for that are older, that will be more nostalgic. I need songs that are a little more newer a cappella that will speak to people who are listening to music that is happening right now. That kind of thing, that it's spanning areas, ages, all sorts of tastes that go along with that. So you have to consider those potential audiences. One chorus that I work with, we are just so into virtual projects. Like, we love them. So we choose songs and we make a virtual project like once every 3 or 4 months. And it's fun. It makes us learn our music faster. We've come up with creative ways to do things. We're going to do one for cups right now. So we're trying to figure out, like, if we know how to do the cup thing. Like, it really can be really engaging to do virtual projects, especially if you have someone who knows how to make a virtual project. If not, you can definitely do reels, you can do tag videos, you can do a lot of things that will engage your members into performing and bring it out into the online community. Collaborate with other entities. I just did a set of learning tracks for Kansas City where they're going to do something with a children's choir. And so they've arranged something to do with the children's choir coming in. It's going to be fantastic. They'll be collaborating with the local children's choir. They'll have this memory and this wonder, and I'm sure they'll record it and share it. So that has an appeal as well. And again, with member input and feedback, it is important without a doubt, but find ways to do it manageably, because it's in my experience, it's difficult. You may have no problem. Your whole chorus may love. I mean, I've had a couple songs where I have been like, okay, you all win, because they've hated it. I've made them sing it. They've hated the song. Oh, girls just want to have fun. They do not like the 80s, y'all. And then Make sure it reflects the personality and identity of your chorus, and don't be afraid to throw it out. Now, I know that's easy to say, especially when you've just spent a bunch of money on learning tracks and music. So, but don't be afraid to look at your whole vista of repertoire and say, does this song really fit us now? We've been singing it for ages, but is it really us? Like, can we find something that works better for us? Can we find something that feeds more into our community and culture and growth? And a lot of times you can, for sure. 11:57 is my time on this. All right, I'm gonna take off this overlay, stop the share. Now I know a lot of that was like just general things, but hopefully they'll feed into specifics. And especially as you work with mission and vision and goals, all of that's going to help direct the things that also lead into positive chorus culture, especially with leadership. For sure. Do you have any questions about that or observations? Ooh, I am looking, I should be looking at the chat because you all are on it. Let's see. So we say, oh, thanks. And thanks for sharing that. Sorry. Foster community where people can feel safe disagreeing. Yes. The delegation levels. Absolutely. Yes. And thinking about all different levels of leadership and all different roles. Like we have so much going on in our choruses, y'all. You know that, right? Directors, music team, membership, marketing, making sure we're running and financially, sound and that we're reaching into the community. We do so much, which is why barbershop is so much more. I mean, it is the music, but it's so much more than the music as well. And I don't know about you all, but I am such a more confident leader and person because of barbershop. There's just no doubt. I'm going back through comments. I meant to look at them while we were doing that. All right. Sometimes you bring in new music and it just isn't the time for it yet, but later it may fit. That is very true. I have some music that's just getting ready to come into its own that I've been wanting to do for ages and I've had in there. So absolutely knowing what works best for your chorus. Awesome. Now, I know it is close to noon your time. I don't expect people to stay, but if it's okay with you all, I am going to share just a couple of practical tools that I use in different aspects of what I taught you all this morning. You do not have to stay for that. I will not hurt. I'll shed one little tear if you leave. I'm just kidding. I will not. But just in case you do need to leave before I do that, I just want to share you all, this region is a joy. I was so thrilled when I was asked to work with you all. And you all you are such a proactive and supportive region. And I love that I've gotten to spend this morning with you all. You're definitely worth getting up early for.
Yes, thank you so much for coming and being with us this morning. And if you do have to leave, thank you so much for getting online this morning and joining us. It's been a great day. And I can't wait till the next event, but I'm also staying on for these tools. I can't wait.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to just share a couple things with y'all. The first thing I'm going to share is something that I use for my solitary learners. So I'm going to go back to the learning styles thing. Actually, I share it with my whole chorus because I just love it. So this is called Padlet. And what I use it for is to share resources that I've shared during rehearsal or things that I just want my chorus to be aware of. So Padlet is an online tool. It's almost like an online filing cabinet kind of thing. And you can have as many, I actually pay for it. So I can have as many columns as I want. But especially for my solitary learners, you'll notice I have like a list of just vocal warm-ups because we started this thing at my course where we don't do in like vocal warm-ups anymore. People are expected to come warmed up and then we do skill building. So I provided vocal warm-ups for them to do that. You'll notice that we have our show season calendar on there. Performances that I just enjoy. For a while, we were trying to learn solfege hand signs. That was really fun. We sing with cello drones to help keep our tonal center. So I provided those cello drones there in the keys in which, you know, our songs are. If we have someone come and coach and they give handouts, we put them there. So all of this stuff, and some things I just put, like, I think these are iconic performances that can help us be better performers. Here's some awesome barbershop performers. But Padlet's a great tool, especially just when I want one place for my people to get all the educational things that I talk about. So it's Padlet, PADLET.com. I know there's a free version. I think the paid version just allows me to upload videos without having to put links, like it'll hold the video, but I mean, it's totally up to whatever works for you. But it's a great tool and I love it. It's just really wonderful way to organize information for your members. Now, another thing I talked about was reaching consensus. So I'm going to show you Fist to Five. Fist to Five is almost like a straw poll. We use it just when we kind of want to get a sense of how our chorus is feeling about something. It's a great nonverbal way to talk about consensus. So when we're talking about something new, or just if someone holds up 5 fingers, it means that not only do I support this, but I will lead this if we decide to do it. 4 is, you know, I fully support it, but not as a leader. 3 is I support it. I have a couple of reservations, but I still support this. I'll support it. 2 is I have quite a few concerns, but I'm still going to support and work toward the accomplishment because I realize the concerns are my own personal things or whatever. 1 is I have serious concerns, but I will not block the team. And then Fist, I can't support. I won't work for, I won't do this basically. Usually if it's a Fist 1 or 2, that means we need to have conversations with people because there are serious issues with this that we don't know about or haven't considered. If people are saying I have serious concerns, that's something, okay, if someone has serious concerns about it, we need to. Now, and it does call for a certain level of trust, because we're at the point where, like, if you're showing a 2 or a 1, we're going to talk to you individually because we want to see what it is and work with you to help figure it out. If it's a bunch of people with 2s or 1s, that tells us we've got to go back to the drawing board. Something is not right here. Something's not working. It can also work absolutely in a team setting. And it's just a nonverbal way to say, okay, how's everyone feeling about this right now, the way it is? And if it's all 4s, then, oh, okay, that is good. We don't really need to work on it anymore. So it really helps just give a sense of what it is. But again, you have to kind of build in trust with this, and also what we talked about people feeling safe to disagree, safe to say that they have concerns, feeling safe to say, I don't know about this. All right, let me see. Hold on, I have other tools for you. I just have to see what they are. Those were the 2 I wanted to talk about.
The interest survey you were.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, the interest survey. Bless you, friends. All right, if you will give me just a second to talk amongst yourselves, I'm going to find that interest survey real quickly. That was one I meant to have open and didn't. I've got to log into my... You know what else I skipped over that I didn't mean to was the website stuff. That is my bad. All right, here it is. Hold on, there it is. Okay, so I'm just going to show some of this. Our interest survey, and this is with my other course actually. So we do talk about working preferences, which I think is important. Do you prefer to work alone? Do you prefer to work as a member of a team? Do you prefer short-term or long-term roles, digital work, work in the work? That really helps us figure out how to delegate things. Can you all see it okay? Okay, saw you looking close, yeah. And then Where would you like to contribute to our chorus journey? Membership? So this kind of yes, please, maybe, no, thank you, not sure, tell me more is a really good thing to put in there. And then already involved. Marketing, finance, all of these things, costume, visual plan, and you can add whatever the needs are within your chorus. And then we also have like chorus events, culture, administration, communication. So all of these things, there are a lot of different things. And the reason we put a lot of different things is we don't know our members' strengths. Also, it also helps us figure out, well, hey, they can do internal communication. Maybe they can just send an email out to the chorus once a month if they're willing to do that. If they're willing to work on the website. And I'll be happy to share this with the RMT if you all would like, because I see you looking at the, yeah. And then we talk about it with music as well. Are you good at music education? Could you coordinate the contest? Could you be a song evaluator? So basically we talk about these different, this is more kind of administration in here. And then we have more about the music in there. And then we have commitment reality. Singing is all I can do right now. I can do small tasks, but I can't commit to more. I would love to do smaller mid-sized tasks. So see, this also helps people manage their own delegation. Like I can only do small tasks. So that's all you can give me. And that when they see that, they're more willing to fill this out and to say, yes, I can do things because, okay, you're only going to give me a small task. And I can't take credit for this. This is the president of my Harmony Inc. chorus who came up with this and has been sending it out to them because she's fantastic and I love her. So that's a way. And right now, out of our 40 member chorus, I think maybe 11 people have filled it out, but that's okay. It's 11 people we didn't know about before, and now we do, right? So it's, you know, finding those things. Any other questions or anything else that I didn't cover that you would like for me to touch on quickly?
Jen, there was one question about how often you send out the survey.
Oh, that's a great question. So my Harmony chorus is a newer chorus. I would say probably not more than twice a year right now. Right now we're doing it once a year just because we're starting to build those teams and all of that. But I would say it depends, because if you get an influx of new members, you're going to want to know that if you're having a lot of turnover in your administration, you might want to do it then. So that it might not be a set time. It may be more like circumstantial.
Great. Thank you.
Sure. Good question, Susan.
Wasn't mine, somebody else.
Oh, did they in the, oh.
I was reading it in the chat.
You totally could have taken credit for that, Susan.
I wouldn't want to do that.
And Laura, yes, I will share the survey with the RMT. I'll share that with them. I'm going to get my president's permission first. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but I want to ask her first before I share her thought processes. Yeah. I think that is it with my tools, because I shared levels of delegation with you all. I think, and I shared the leadership skills self-assessment. So I believe that's all I have. Yes, Elizabeth.
Was there something with website you also wanted to share?
Yeah, man, I feel bad because it was in my one. I thought it was in my other presentation and it wasn't. Yeah, let me share that real quickly just so it's on the recording, because it is important. Give me 2 seconds, y'all, to get to this. I think it's in marketing. Yeah, it is. Okay, perfect. All right, I'm going to share this with you all real quickly. You're welcome to stay. If you need to leave, that's fine. So let's talk about the website real quickly. I'm actually going to go here first. So website construction is really, or website layout is very, very important. Part of the reason it's important is even if people find you through Meetup or something else, they're going to research you and they're going to try to look for your website. And if things are difficult to find on your website, like everything on your homepage should be designed for the potential guest in mind. I've been to many chorus websites where you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom just to find out where they rehearse. You have to scroll or click a lot to find out how to come to rehearsal. And a lot of times, the more people have to scroll and the more they have to click, the less likely they are going to go diving for that information. So you should have your mission and vision available online so they know who you are and what you're doing. But pertinent information should really be right there on the home page. Let me see if I can find this. Okay, they don't have theirs up right now. So best way to do it is to find someone who is not a barbershopper and not a member of your chorus and tell them to go to your website and pretend like they're trying to find out how to visit a rehearsal and ask them how easy it was for them to do that. Ask them what their impression was of your chorus and if they would come visit with that. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, I thought someone said something.
I
Sorry.
think it was something that was posted in the comments.
Oh, in
Like
the
a
comments?
whoosh. Yeah.
Gotcha. Going down to our new messages. I don't see, is there a question on there? I do not see it. I'm sorry.
No, I just think it was like a whooshing sound, like somebody posted like a
Gotcha.
thanks. Yeah.
Someone whooshed. Okay.
Oh, it was me.
Do your whooshing. So, and make sure also, like, if you have a contact info, like a general membership email that people will use to say, hey, I'm coming to rehearsal, all of it should be right there. So things that can impede that is if rehearsal information is buried at the bottom of the page, it requires a lot of clicking, or it's incomplete. A lot of times I see choruses will put like the church they rehearse at, but they don't give a full address. So I don't even know what state they're in. So it should be a full address so people can put it in maps and find you. If there's no contact information, if you have contact information, but there's no response or the response time is slow when people reach out, make sure there's human interest. There should be pictures of real human beings doing all the chorus stuff on your website so people know that there are real people there. And if it's really text heavy, it's very hard for people to do that. Oops, sorry, hold on. There we go. So making sure, and every time I do this, I go back to my own course website and go, oh my gosh, we've got to change some stuff. But just making sure that there are plenty of pictures of the people in your chorus, that the mission and vision are there so they know what you're about, and that they can easily find the information to come see you and to come visit the chorus. Those are the big things. It's real. And again, I've found that lately, when we've had quite a few guests walk through the door lately, and most of them just said, I Googled places to sing in Chattanooga and you all came up, so I came to visit you. So they're finding us through Google and through our website. There's so many things to say, y'all. Thanks for reminding me about that, because I did want to get that on the recording. Any other questions or comments, friends? Thank you for giving me your whole Saturday morning, y'all. I really appreciate it. And I've enjoyed spending it with you. Big time.
Yes, thank you so much. If we could all be screaming and yelling, we would. That was amazing. You gave us such amazing things to think about and amazing things to bring back to our choruses.
Oh,
And
good.
we appreciate you spending your whole Saturday morning with us. Thank you so
I
much.
love it a lot.
So great. Thanks for everybody for joining and hopping on. We'll have the recordings and the things that Jen sends to us posted up on the regional website as soon as we can.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you,
you,
Elisa.
Jen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks.
you.
Have a good
So
rest
good
of
to
the
see
day.
your
Thank
faces.
you.
Yay.
So good to see everyone.
It really is.